my dear traveler. The purpose of raw consciousness is never to destroy. It is always to create. Build bridges. Create happiness. And bring forth new life. We must live in the hope that mankind will draw together. And that we better understand each other. The more that we awaken, the easier this will become. Now rise. Follow your conductors. And fear no danger. As you step beyond the veil.
All right. I want to say hello to Amin, who joined us in the chat. He's working with us behind the scenes on some stuff, and also has put me in contact with Graham Hancock, who we had scheduled a couple of years ago on the show, but we just were never able to connect. But he just asked to get in the chat room. Did you get my email? That's what I'm getting into. I did get your email. I just haven't had a chance to reply yet. I've just been slammed all week, but we're going to make that happen, and we'll get Graham on here in the next couple of weeks. And we've got some other pretty cool guests coming on too. We've kind of taken the show back to a format of interviews because we've pretty much said everything that we need to say.
Right.
When more information is revealed, you'll definitely be the first ones to know right here on Beyond the Veil. But George Kavassilas is joining us tonight. Mrs. Gio, do you want to take us away on an intro?
Yes, absolutely. George Kavassilas is an author, mentor, and public speaker. George has had a lifetime of strange and wonderful experiences beyond the ordinary, encountering both benevolent and malevolent interdimensional and extraterrestrial beings. As a consequence, he went through a process of reconciling the knowledge and wisdom gained from these experiences and came to realize a natural response to share what he has learned with our global community. As a result, George now embodies a limitless passion in answering life's primordial questions. Who are we? Where do we come from? And what are we doing here? All that George shares stems from direct experience. Some find his work challenging, yet for others it is incredibly liberating. And welcome to the show, George.
Hi, thank you very
Hi.
much. That was a really appreciative intro. Thank you.
How have you been? It has been, 6 months, 8 months, something like that since we've been able to touch bases. So much going on in the energetic realm. First of all, what's going on in the realm of George Kavassilas? What's the new work?
Yeah, what's new? Well, I've established a wonderful relationship with Alison, and it's been a real joy. Our co-creative process is exploding, and the amount of work that we've got going on, the amount of events, the webinars, everything, it's fun. It's just really nice when you can be with someone who knows how to take that journey with you, and it's really an enjoyable process. So.
You know what? I have to say congratulations on that, George, because you're right. I couldn't imagine this journey without Cherie. I mean, she's, it's hard to find people that are compatible, much less people that are on the same consciousness level. Somebody that can work towards a similar goal, a common goal, work together as a unit, so on and so forth. And for you to find that, I think it's remarkable, and it's something that I know a lot of people out there, they either have or they aspire to have. I know that there was some preparation that you had to do, and I talk about this before you meet your twin flame, how sometimes you just have to disconnect and start tearing down yourself and your own consciousness and then rebuilding. And it's almost like you're telling the universe, hey, I'm preparing for the one that I've been waiting for. Then once you do all the inner work and the shadow work, then that other person just suddenly appears like that. Did you find that to be the case? And if so, any advice for people out there still in that process?
Yeah, it's who we have in our lives at any given moment is a reflection of who we are or how we are or where we are at. And, establishing my relationship that I currently have with Alison, it's not based on ideology. So it's not riding off into the sunset happily ever after. We really genuinely have the same passions. We are in alignment with our creative processes, and it just feels really good. So, there's no guarantees in life, but at this stage, we just love hanging out. We love being together, and we love co-creating together, and it's an absolute joy. So it's the friendship is the foundation, and the ideological systems that I used to operate from before. I seem to have moved on from them.
That's what I was getting at.
That's
Moving
awesome.
on from the old way of thinking. I noticed before I met Cherie, we both had to go through this process.
Yeah.
And then the thing about these types of relationships is a lot of people are looking for this, perfect, harmonious relationship.
Right.
The bliss. I hear this in the New Age all the time. Infinite state of bliss, infinite state of bliss. But that's not where the work is done. The work is done when you're challenging yourself, when you're challenging the other person that you're with, and it's an ever-growing and ever-evolving work.
Yeah, and I really just want to make sure I'm clear that this is taking absolutely nothing away from anybody that I've had as an intimate relationship or partnership before in my life. They were all fabulous people, and we came together at exactly the right time for one another. And having this hindsight, it's kind of like we tend to reach different levels of emotional intelligence and emotional maturity. And little Georgie's growing up, and I certainly wasn't anywhere near as emotionally intelligent or mature when I look back over the decades. So that's why I just can't take anything away from anybody else. Who are just fabulous people. Like I wouldn't be the man I am today without having had those beautiful experiences in my life. So,
of course,
I love to hear you say that.
Yeah, I've always said that our exes, our relationships, they're building. I mean, I was in a relationship where I was treating her like absolute garbage. I just didn't know I was. I didn't have a reference point. Then I was in a relationship where the girl was treating me the same way, and I went, now I know what it's like. But it built that up so I don't make those same mistakes here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I like about people who have this, my thing is I just have a passion for what is real. And when we get into this space, when we are able to truly vibrate that intention into the depths that we do from our heart, soul essence, from the core of our being, we get into a place where we're vibrating an energetic field, and just by the very nature of the LORE, law of attraction, we then are attracting people into our lives in this beautiful sequence of timing in the way we are unfolding. So we're unfolding in a particular way. Our timeline is unfolding in a particular way when we look at it from a linear perspective. And this way we get to cross paths. We're always coming along and crossing paths with other people, and our timelines are continually crossing paths. And it depends if you come together, and sometimes you can come together and you can go together for a long time. Sometimes you just come together and then you just part like that. So it's just a motion like that of energy. And it's, really seeing, if you pull yourself out of the drama, you can really see how people, you can come together and then, or you come together, do that, and then do that again, and that happens as well. So if you look at it as energy in motion, this is a different perspective. So I'm finding that my creative process, because I'm in a really beautiful, consciously aware relationship with my mother planet and with the sun and with the galaxy and with the universe and all the different layers of realities that are going on, including the matrix, I'm getting to that point where I can exercise or just implement my creative process. And in being that creator being, conscious creator being, and operating with love, on, and respect, I get to enter these wonderful relationships and people coming into my life who genuinely are interested in a similar creative process. And so what we're finding is we can see the drama playing out all around us. And it's a really powerful vortex of energy that pulls people in. And there's different dialectics going on, one after the other, and they're being created constantly. The mass media is playing a fantastic role in creating one dialect after another. And because if they don't get you in one, they want to pull you in from another one into another one. And that means your awareness is inside that space. That's where your awareness is residing, and that's where you're occupying your consciously aware state. So then you're in that space. Now, when you're in there, what are you doing? You end up just bouncing around in that space, right? You're bouncing around like a ball in a pinball machine. So you end up being a reactor being. And I tell people, well, how about we stop being reactor beings and we move the C before the T over to the beginning of the word, and we become creator beings. It's just a little, just jump that letter over by a few. And all of a sudden, when you step out of that space, so out of all these drama vortexes, you get to do this. Okay, so you need that to happen, and this is your own little big bang that needs to happen. And when that happens, and that's a beautiful painting by Lee King, thank you, Lee, living on the Sunshine Coast of Australia here, magnificent painting. You get to actually, you're turning inside out, and you are living your creative process from your heart, soul essence. And there's this rhythm, there's this flow of unfoldment, there's a rate of unfoldment. You can see yourself with a lot more clarity, and because clarity is freedom. And I really, really enjoy being able to create, I'm going to say, well, my creations in this world are helping people. It's like, because I'm not here to save anybody, okay? But what I am here to do from an empowered place is contribute. So I'm entering into a life of contribution. So I've come out of the dialectic, which was service to self versus service to others. Now, that program I found was really fascinating because it became such a powerful dialectic, but it was keeping people in the servitude model. And in the service to others, there's this problem with the martyr archetype that seems to dominate that construct, whether people are consciously aware of it or not. So I really wanted to remove myself out of that dialectic as well and get to that point where I'm now contributing to human society, to world, to life, to this universe, for example, and to everyone around me from an empowered place, because then now I'm a capable, responsible, consciously aware creator being.
Beautifully said, George. And, we've said similar things. I call it matrix programmed ego, where we are the reactor beings, where we're programmed through our traumas, through our experiences, through our identities, this and that. And I call it raw consciousness. Raw consciousness being like devoid of all the programming and processing and all of that, and just down to our raw essence, which you call the heart center. And operating from that point, we can move through the game without being the reactors, and we can actually be the creators. So it's remarkable that you're saying the exact same thing, different terminology, but it still speaks the same resonance and the same truth.
Well, and it's funny how you are talking about relationships, the exact opposite of how you hear most people that are in this field talk about relationships, because in this world, relationships are either in a honeymoon period of, everything's blissful and wonderful and perfect, or it's in an obligation stage where, you're together because you have to be, or you have kids, or you have, jobs together, or, something keeps you together and makes you stick to each other like prisoners that are chained up to the same length of rope or something. But it's not like that when you're acting from that heart center, like you call it, or the raw consciousness, as Chris and I call it. When you're acting from that consciousness, from a need and a drive to explore your consciousness and to bring yourself, up higher and higher in that state of gnosis, then relationships become so much more than just obligation or staying, in sickness and in health till death do us part. It's not obligation anymore. It's play. It's continuous playing together.
You know, George, our show opens up with raw consciousness does not require a savior. It only requires
Knowledge
the
of
knowledge
oneself.
of self and the power to access it.
Mhm.
And that is breaking down all of these programs and getting to that heart center, as you said. How do people go about doing that? Like, how do you recognize when you're not operating from that heart center and you're a
question.
reactor instead of a creator?
That's a really good question. And what's going to be surprising is the simplicity of the answer. So,
Can I guess? I bet you. Okay, let me guess.
I'm sure you already know.
It's the realization that you're reacting completely changes the dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it, really? Yes, totally synced. Anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt. Take us away, please.
Because when you have a passion for what is real, you realize that it's all about realization. It's you become realized. It's a fascinating place because you become so consciously aware of all the programs that you're running. And I know I'm still running lots of programs, and that's the interesting thing that happens. You step out of that ideological system where you must eliminate everything that's negative instantly. That's another fascinating place. And what you step into is the consciously aware process of alchemy. So I know I'm still running distortions. Now, if I try to get rid of them, the only way, like prematurely, if I try to get rid of them prematurely, the only way a person can seemingly get rid of, you can almost, it's like a Band-Aid effect. You don't really get rid of it, but the only way you can deal with it, so you don't have to consciously deal with it, whatever your distortion is you have to give your power over to a god, and they will put layers of their light energy and false light energy and false expressions of love energy and all these blissed out states, so you can not have to actually confront and address that shadow aspect and distortion field within your own being. And then what that does, it delays the inevitable, which is whether it's in this lifetime or another or somewhere else in the universe, you're going to be confronted with that distortion field that you have to actually alchemize and transcend.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. And I think this is the big problem with religion and the New Age. I mean, New Age really, it's just religion repackaged. Instead of Jesus, you have, bluebirds or whatever, and they're coming to save you. You don't have to do any of the work. Don't worry about it. They got it all covered, et cetera, et cetera. But what I found the most power in is reaching down and getting my own power, but also taking responsibility for who I am and for some of the darkness that was actually not external, but rather it was all internal. And it was such a hard thing to go through. But once I did that and I faced down the darkness, then, like you said, it was transmuted into the raw consciousness.
Because the biggest problem people have, well, second biggest actually, the two biggest fears we have in life. The second biggest fear we have is the fear of fear itself. Do you know how many people are terrified and frightened and scared of fear?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think
the connection froze.
Yep.
Let's see if we
I
can.
think so. No, somebody literally just said in the chat room that today she stopped herself from reacting to the situation of feeling hurt. And because she realized it wasn't reacting from love, but from fear that she was feeling hurt.
Right.
And I do that all the time.
Right.
Chris can tell you.
Fear of fear. That's what it comes down to. And when you're living your life in constant fear, then you're trapped. You're cornered. You're not taking control of your consciousness. And You know, we're made to constantly fear. I mean, it's nonstop fear, bombardment on Facebook, bombardment by the mainstream media. Several different places are telling us that we are wretches, we're sinners, we're this, we're that, et
fear of
cetera, et
hell.
cetera. Fear of ourselves, fear of
Yeah.
hell. Yeah. And when you overcome that and conquer that, that's when you can really become the architect of your reality.
You know, real quick, Fiona Wiley had a question. Is it really true that love gives healing and fear gives disease? Now, I know from being somebody that's been chronically ill, it's, you know, quote unquote, for most of my life, I can definitely tell you that fear of anything, it doesn't matter if it's fear of being sick again, fear of, you know, something dislocating, fear of running into something when I'm walking, fear of being alone, fear of Chris being mad at me. It doesn't matter what it is, but any kind of fear is going to make the pain and the suffering 10 times worse.
Well, you know what? If I can speak on something personal real quick, and we've got George back, so we'll bring him on. I want to get his thoughts on this too. But you know, this is from my perspective, and obviously I probably do it too and don't realize it. But the number one thing that makes us argue is, I mean, at least from my vantage point, is when you're constantly worried that you're making me mad. And then it's like, I do get mad after that because I'm like, just chill out. Oh my God, everything's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
And we tend to do that to each other out of fear. Like, oh no, well, I want this to go perfect, or I want that to go perfect,
We
or I
push
want
each other away. with
Yeah,
that.
we manifest our own reality. It's
Right.
self-fulfilling prophecies.
It is.
And the realization breaks it.
Exactly.
And I'm sure I do things that piss you off all the time and I don't even realize it. But then, you know, you realize it and then I realize it. Then we're like, oh, okay. Then everything calms down again.
Well, it's just the blow ups that surprise me out of nowhere, like seemingly out of nowhere. Like he'll be mad about something, but he'll just kind of blow it off. But then he'll be mad about another thing, and he'll just kind of blow it off. But then after the third time of me doing something to piss him off, he'll just explode on me, and so I'm like scared of that explosion. So it's like watching the volcano at all times to make sure it's not going to erupt. And but that fear of the eruption is what in his eyes makes him erupt.
That's true.
You know,
You see how it's the self-fulfilling prophecies, though?
exactly.
And that's just,
Exactly.
you know, applying something personal to our sphere here, but you can apply that to anything
Yeah.
in life. If you go to a job interview and you're like, oh my God, I'm not going to get the job, I'm not going to get the job.
Then you're
I'm
not gonna get that
then
job.
You're not going to get it.
Yeah.
If you're going to be pulled over by the police, or there's a police officer behind you and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to
Oh,
be pulled
God.
over. I know he's
Yep.
going to pull me over and write me a ticket. You're going to manifest that reality.
Right, exactly.
Yep. Let's go back to George. George, any thoughts?
Oh, mate, yeah, absolutely. What I decided to do was I had a massive surge of fear become present. And so what I decided to do was to just allow it. So in that moment, it was an instant turnaround where I stopped being afraid of the fear. And I said, I'm just going to allow you to totally ravage me. But when I say ravage, I don't mean destroy. I don't mean diminish. I don't mean anything like that. I just decided to say, come on, let me experience you to the fullest. And I just sat there and, you know, my heart was nearly pounding out of my chest, and the fear I was experiencing was crippling. I could barely move physically. My mind was turning to jelly. It was quite amazing, but I was managing the situation the whole time. I wanted to really embrace my fears. I no longer wanted to live in denial of them, because I came to realize they are a part of me, because everything I experience in this reality, I experience because I want to experience it. And where I say I want to is not from the distorted little insecure ego construct of George. I'm talking about a much greater aspect of my being, the part of me that actually is the composer, the orchestrator, and the conductor of the life that I'm having, the part of me that made the decision to come to Earth and have an incarnation. So it's like this fear that we have of the programs running around this reality. If consciousness is an energy that permeates through all manifested forms, and it does, it's an interface construct in the universe. So consciousness connects to all form. it has within it, in the realm of consciousness, there's viruses, consciousness viruses that go around, and there's they're like organisms, living bugs and like bacteria and like viruses that we have in the physical world. They also exist in the realm of consciousness. And when I started to identify my dis-ease in my consciousness field, my distortion fields, my ills, I began to realize and become aware of, hey, I'm now operating through this field of distortion. Why is this happening to me? Do I want to have this experience? And the part of me that was answering no was the aspect of me that is the character in the play here. It is my personality interface for this incarnational construct known as George. I'm like, okay, so that part of me doesn't want to have that experience. But there's another part of me that does, otherwise I wouldn't be having it. This is part of, this is what I help people to come to realize about themselves, that everything we experience is because we want to experience it. And when I say we want to, again, not from the ego construct. If you've had experiences in your life that you're still angry at and you're really negative towards, and you can't reconcile, why would I have ever wanted that kind of experience? That's the combination of the distortion fields and the ego construct working really deeply with the victim archetype. Once we start unpacking what is really behind these sorts of ideas and thoughts and emotional reactions that we have towards all this stuff, this is it gets really how can I say it? You become so transparent to yourself. There's no more hiding anywhere, anything about yourself. You can't, because you're so self-aware that if you do try to fake it, it hurts because you're lying to yourself, and you know you're lying to yourself. And it becomes really pathetically sad that you do that you attempt to do that. So we need to understand that every experience we have is because we created, and everyone else around us is co-creating with us. And so we're in this ginormous co-creative process with people to have all these incredible experiences so we can alchemize the knowledge and turn it into wisdom. And then we become these really, really powerful creative beings as a result.
Well said. And, about the bugs, about 4 or 5 years ago, I used to clear these bugs from people. And I saw a picture of somebody that had drew an archon, and it looked just like these bugs that I was removing from people. They were like, I described them first, and then somebody said, hey, check out this picture. And I mean, people were drawing these things out. They have like this fleshy back to them, and they're small little bugs like this that attach to the spirit body. I've seen octopus tentacles that people are wrapped around in.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, I stopped clearing people because those people that I would clear would always go and tangle themselves up again.
Right up again.
The most powerful thing, in my opinion, was to teach them how to clear themselves.
Yes, because
once I did that, then that was actually permanent.
Well, it's kind of like teaching a child how to do his own laundry and clean his own room. If you keep cleaning the room for him and doing his own laundry, he's never going to learn how to do it himself. And there's going to be no motivation whatsoever for him to not mess up that room again. That's true. So you have to get on them about and actually teach them how to do it themselves so that they can know, oh, if I put this down and leave this, bag of chips here, it's just going to sit here and everything's going to pile up, and then I'm going to have to clean it all over again. And it's going to take me 3 hours to do it.
Oh, well, that's really nice coming from the Tasmanian devil. I cleaned the kitchen this morning.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just poking fun. Natalie said something really awesome in the chat. She said, I don't quote my mom very often, but she said one very wise thing. You can only die once, but fear makes you die a million times.
Yep.
How true is that, George?
Oh, I love that saying. That is, it's the first time I've heard it, and I think that is absolutely brilliant. And so what I ended up doing with that fear was I marinated in it. I just allowed myself to marinate in it. I knew I wasn't going to die. It feels like you're going to die because it was really, like I said, my heart was pounding out of my chest. And I just went, okay, well, I need to really, really understand my relationship with fear. And once I began to get excited about experiencing fear, not because I wanted to feed off the fear. I just want to make that point clear, because a lot of people with a conspiratorial mindset, or if you're really stuck deep into the dialectic of God versus the devil sort of stuff, you're just going to have a reactive response. Fear, embracing fear, doesn't mean you become an ambassador for it. Doesn't mean you become a priest. Doesn't mean you become a puppet of fear. What I'm talking about is being able to completely embrace your fears to the point where you end up no longer being afraid of your fears, but excited that a fear presents itself, because now you know you're presented with another wonderful opportunity for alchemy. And then what you find is once you begin this process, a lot of them will come up, because you're sending out a big signal to the universe and to the world and saying, hey, everyone, I'm ready to face my fears. And it's kind of like you're going, okay, bring it. And it's what happens. And a lot of people freak out because it gets too much for them, because they're just staring in the mirror too long, too deep. So they turn around and they go back. They take the blue pill again and they go back in. And they go back into the dialectic of God versus the devil, and play all those games in those, whatever religious construct they go back to, or spiritual ideological program they go back to. So, but if you can stay the course and weather the storm that begins to happen when you first go into this stuff, then you alchemize your fears. And as you alchemize them, all of a sudden you learn from them. And the way this reality operates is it's gravity, right? LORE, law of attraction, is gravity. People are always wondering what gravity is about. It's simply the law of attraction. And what keeps us bound to this earth is the soul level agreement we have to be here in this reality, to experience this reality. It's really not, I have a quote, it's not rocket science, it's relationship. That's the universe in a nutshell. So basically, if we comprehend that we're in a very deep and intimate relationship with all the experiences we're having in life, and everybody's role playing, then every time we alchemize an experience, we cultivate the wisdom from that experience. We gain the learning from it. Now, all of a sudden, we've changed our field of energy. We are now what we were before, plus we are now have added into the equation the charge of energy that is the wisdom that we have cultivated from that experience. What that does is overall it changes the frequency that we emanate, that we broadcast out. And because that wisdom is in the equation of our broadcast, then we are no longer sending the signal out to reality, to the universe, that we require those sets of experiences. So you don't experience those things again. They just go away. You might get the odd little test just to see whether you really got it, right? But it really just goes away. And what happens is the new set of experiences now present themselves. And what I found over the years was the more I did this, the less frequent I started having negative experiences, the less frequent I was experiencing fear, because this reality is intelligent and it knows that you get to a certain level of state of emotional intelligence and emotional maturity and just this conscious awareness, this conscious state of awareness of being and a self-awareness that Chris and Cherie, that you guys spoke of earlier, then all of a sudden we are vibrating a field of reality that is attracting to us a creative process. So we no longer require the drama. So we don't have to play in that arena over there. We don't require that anymore. Now we're over here. We're turning inside out, and now we're on a creative path. So now our timeline is phasing out of the drama, and now we're coming into this beautiful creative process. And what we're attracting into our life and into our life path are other people who have also reached this level of maturity, and they know they're phasing out of the drama. So they're not playing in that drama game anymore. And it's really awesome because everywhere I go now, I'm attracting into my sphere of reality, my courses, my webinars, everything that I'm doing, the most fantastic people I've ever met in my life. It is just so brilliant.
We tend to attract those that are vibrating at the same frequency.
Or those that we need.
Yes. While
to learn something from.
While at the same time, the ones who are not in our frequency can't interfere anymore. Mm-hmm. So I've noticed this with like police, for example. I've made this example on the broadcast before, but in the last 4 years, we've been pulled over, 2-3 times? Mm-hmm. And every time the cop walks up to the car, and it's almost like a Jedi mind trick. He just walks up, "I'm sorry to bother you, sir," and walks away. Mm-hmm. It's the most bizarre thing, but it's like his frequency comes into mind. He can't deal with that frequency, and so he just naturally leaves.
Yep.
Fear, on the other hand, though, can be used as a tool, because fear is that now becomes a warning at some point. Like, hey, I'm getting this fear energy coming up through me. I need to be more aware of what I'm doing and navigate through this better. Mm-hmm. But it's not giving into that fear, but rather using that as an alarm, as a signal, and then remaining cool, taking control of the situation and navigating out. Remember when we were in Egypt?
I was just about to bring that up.
Our lives were in danger, but because we, number one, recognized the fear, and number two, remained completely and totally cool, we navigated out of everything like butter. I mean,
and it's also because we were on the same wavelength from beginning to end, and so we were able to telepathically tell each other, "Hey, this is not a good situation.
Right.
Let's hightail it out of here."
So the game starts to change significantly. George, your thoughts?
Oh, it does. It absolutely does. And, what I love also is, you asked me at the beginning, what are we going to talk about today? And I went, Chris, I tried thinking about lots of things to talk about. I've got paperwork here. I could talk about stuff, but I don't want to. I didn't want to because like my webinars, this is how I hold my webinars now, is I don't get concerned with fear. So I don't worry. So not projecting worry into the timeline of the webinar or to this interview, right? I turned up because every time I was trying to think of what am I going to talk about, my greater being was, no. You and Chris and Cherie, your timelines are going to intersect. And in the moment, you're just going to go on this beautiful adventure. And whatever presents itself is what everybody needs in this moment, right? As well as yourselves. I'm like, okay,
that's beautiful. Right? That's exactly what we said.
Well, I love
Chris
that.
asked, "Do we have any questions or topics? Did George send anything?" I said, "No, but I'm sure everything's going to turn out great."
We do a lot of the shows. Actually, about 99% of the shows
of our shows.
The people I'm most apprehensive about, George, are the ones that want to stick to the questions and will not go outside of that. And I'm like,
and demand that we read their book.
Yeah, is it scripted? Are you like all scripted? And so we're supposed to stay within this bounds because you're just repeating a script? I mean, I won't name
we're not other shows.
Anybody, but
we're not like other shows.
We've run into that, and we're like, no, frequency doesn't resonate here. But no, these often.
Well, that's what I love. I knew I could do this with you guys because I know you get it. You're totally, we're hanging out in the same neighborhoods in the universe. It's so much fun, and really, everybody who is a part of the membership website, they'll tell you, I just turn up, and I tell them there and then, I'm saying, I don't know I didn't know till like 2 minutes beforehand what I was going to talk about until I just saw a scribble on a bit of paper as I was sitting down with my cup of tea ready to go with the webinar. Things like that. It's just, you just got to let go and really go into that place of trust. And the way I'm functioning in the world today, because this is a segue from before, right? What we talked about before with fear. So when we get into this space, then all of a sudden we are consciously aware of the way we are unfolding. We're consciously aware of the rate of unfoldment. And what happens is because we have that much better awareness through conscious relationship with this reality and the way this reality is unfolding and our place in that rate of unfoldment, then all of a sudden we are in this beautiful consciously aware relationship where we're sensing how it's almost like when you're surfing a wave, or you're driving a car or whatever, you can feel when there's momentum heading in a particular direction. And all of a sudden you can sense what's coming up ahead as well. And you can say, well, it's going to be all right. Everything's going to be fine. I don't have to panic about the here and now and the dramatic circumstances that are occurring around me. I don't have to react to that. I don't have to live that type of reactive, lifestyle. I can actually swim through the water like a dolphin, just swims and just cruises, or like a whale does. It's just amazing. And there's times when you go deep and you journey deep and you do your inner work, and then you can come up and then you go wee, and then you can come splashing out the water and and come out into the light a little bit more and have a whole bunch of fun and surf some waves. So using dolphin medicine as an example is a really good way to explain how I am moving through time and space in my life and how I'm perceiving it. And I don't always, say it to everybody around me. And then when I go deep, I can go deep and I can have some really challenging days. But at the same time, we just have to be in that place of, okay, I'm in a very difficult time right now. I feel like I'm beginning to experience what's called suffering, which rarely happens these days. I can tell you that. But when it does happen, I embrace it. Okay, I tell my clients and I tell the people of the We Are Infinite community, I say, when you are experiencing a really bad time, like a really difficult time, difficult challenges in your life, and you're having a bad day, let's say this just one day is just so awful, marinate in it. Don't deny it. Totally embrace it. And what you need to do is, what do you feel like doing? Oh, I want ice cream. All right, go buy yourself some ice cream. What else do you want? I want to sit down and watch a movie. Right, go and sit down and watch a movie. Do it. These are the things, you got to listen. And then what happens is, while you're in the process of honoring it, what happens is what you need to actually address comes up in that process. You don't actually always have to go on a retreat or a vision quest. If you learn how to actually alchemize in your daily life, then you might just need to take a day off and switch off from the world, draw the curtains closed, and be the bear in the cave and do that deep, dark medicine that you need to do. It's okay, whatever way you need to do it. Some people will do plant medicine. Some people will go drink a bottle of tequila. Whatever that person's medicine is, it's okay. It's when the medicine consumes the person on a regular basis, that's no longer medicine.
That's right.
I've realized that too. Cherie was doing a reading for somebody the other day, and they came up with the devil card. And the person, oh my God, the devil card. Well, the devil card, what it means is that you're either doing something you're not supposed to, which wasn't the case for this person. But it could also mean that you need to take a break and go do some material stuff and then come back to the spiritual and all that stuff. Go play a little bit, because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to do your work efficiently. And I found myself in that situation time and time again, where I'm working on my consciousness, on my spirituality. I mean, hell, even the balance between mind, body, and soul. I didn't really understand the necessity for that until 2019. I was working on my consciousness, blasting off into all these different realms and all of that. My body just suffered. And then I hire this personal trainer, get back in the gym, and I'm just like killing it. And she's like, this doesn't make any sense. Where are you getting all this energy from? And I'm like, look, I'm already what you're training me to be. I'm just going through the motions now to get there. So I've got the energy source that I'm pulling from, but it's the balance and then the play is a big part of this too. Sometimes you just got to check out and take a break.
Well, yeah, and then sometimes we used to talk a lot of crap about MDMA in particular. And then several months ago, we actually came across pure MDMA.
That's a story for a different show, but my God.
We used that together, and it was exactly what we needed.
We
did not need the plant medicine right then. We needed the bonding experience and the oxytocin and the serotonin release of MDMA that particular time.
And it made me feel 20 again.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, this is what I've been looking for.
It was the ultimate playtime for us. And it wasn't, I would not say now that MDMA is not a spiritual experience. I would say it depends on how you use it.
Now, if you do it more than once every couple of months, then it consumes you, especially with something like that. Because if you do it twice in a week, that's it. The hangover is like 10 times as hard. Yeah. You're out for like 4 days. It just goes to show balance of everything.
Right.
Balance of all things.
Yeah, balance of all things. Yeah. And another quote that I have is that if you ain't having fun, you ain't doing it right.
Yep.
We got to make sure.
Exactly.
I just told that to my trainer. As a matter of fact, I was getting her hyped up for her race, and I'm like, you got to go in there and have fun. And she's like, I can't have fun. I got this contract. I've got these sponsors. I've got this. I've got that. Well, you're not going to win if you're not going to have fun. It's simple as that. You've got to break all that and just go do it.
Exactly. There's got the joy has to be in everything we do. A natural creator being, a real creator being, always includes joy in the process. Always. And even, okay, you're being challenged and you're hurting and there's a degree of suffering and all that. But overall, you're having fun, just like somebody who's hiking up a side of a mountain or running a triathlon. You ask them a lot of the time, it looks like outwardly that they're suffering, but internally, a lot of the time, they're just absolutely loving it. And the ones that love it always last the longest. They don't, peak after 3 years and then disappear with body injuries. They will go and go and go. I've got a friend, Brian, who he'd run the pants off all of us, and he's like mid-70s, I reckon. He's about there somewhere. Could be even older than that. And I tell you what, that guy is amazing, and he's a triathlete, and he loves it. He enjoys it, and he walks around with his T-shirt, love written across there. It's the guy's amazing. So make sure that whatever creative process you're into, even though there's challenges, it's got to be fun. You got to enjoy. It's they say it's a fine line between pleasure and pain, if you know what I mean. So what this universe loves to do is to create. So you have the positive forward momentum. So you got like a positive energy, and then this negative energy comes along, and that's the forces of limitation, and they create that place in the middle. So in there, inside that space, that is where the magic happens, where the two polarities come together and create a unified field in there of it's like a cauldron of integration. And when we actually learn how to embrace the forces of limitation and not buy into the drama, then all of a sudden our whole creative process and our chemical process becomes fun. It actually becomes enjoyable. Even though I have emotional challenges, the way I experience pain has changed. Whereas before I used to buy into the drama, let's say I would experience a type of just an emotional pain with somebody for whatever reason. Old me used to buy into the drama of it, and then I would react, and then and then all this bouncing around of all these energies would begin to happen. And now I rarely react. It takes a lot to get me to react. These days I just usually just observe. I observe myself. I observe whoever else is involved. And if I do have to respond, I'm going to respond with ability. It was really interesting. What got me the other day was at the airport. It was a couple of weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. And every time I walk into the local airport here, the guys have to pat me down with the, gunpowder thing that they check, and you got to zip your bags open, and they pat all that, and then they put it in the thing to check you're not working with explosives.
You must have been here in the United States. Mm-hmm. It's bad here. When we were traveling around the world, there was none of that.
Yeah.
Here in the United States, there were helicopters and all kinds of stuff. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it was here at our local airport here. And I said to the guy, he made some sort of comments, and I said, actually, I find this offensive. I said to him, and I said, it's really sad how now all of a sudden we're all guilty until proven innocent. It's like I said, I'd really like to be able to come into the airport one day and not be treated like a criminal.
Right. That is true. And you know what's sad?
Innocent people now, families, everybody is now in the eyes of the system, you're criminals. Everybody. Until you're proven innocent, you're a criminal. So everywhere you go, if you go to get on a plane, before you go through that checking system, you're in the eyes of the airport and airport security staff, you are a criminal until they can prove your intentions that you are not a criminal. So this is the mindset. So the whole system has done a complete 180 on the people, and we are all now guilty until proven innocent. The system no longer sees us as friendly, and it no longer is doing what it was originally supposed to do, and that was to what's the word I'm looking for? Represent. It's supposed to be a representation of collective intentions of our community, where it could function with love, honour, and respect to help to create infrastructure that was going to create a better communal experience, a better community experiences. So I felt really sad about that, but I needed to voice it to the gentleman in that moment, and I know I got through to him because he turned around and he had his arms folded like that with his back to me, and he dropped his head, and I could see his whole body just dropped. It just sunk because, the way I said it respectfully, but I also said it in an assertive manner. And I didn't use any swear words or anything, and I just said exactly what I needed to say. So when you come from this place of really feeling into the moment, because I've been in that situation before, but the timing wasn't right for me to say anything. And if I had have said something in those other moments, then it would not have ended as well, if you know what I mean. So learning how, as we're unfolding in reality and as we're moving through time and space, learning how to read the play, because I'm coming from such a far more, you could say, expansive. I'm not going to use the word higher consciousness. That is so God matrix, just the whole hierarchical system. It's ridiculous. I could use the word expansive, or I could use the word of depth or inner. I could use all these types of descriptives if I can. But what I'm trying to say is the depth of relationship I have with this reality. And I can see the layers of the matrix here, the matrices. There's matrices nested inside other matrices here. And have the relationship with each one of these matrix systems, and to realize that I'm occupying all these different levels of matrix systems here, and to understand having consciously aware relationship with all these other prime creators of these matrix systems and their minions. So I'm talking about the rulers of the matrix, and being able to actually reside, like exist in this matrix system, and to have that relationship, not only with, just who you meet at the airport or something like that. I said, imagine you're existing inside a matrix reality where you are in full conscious aware relationship with the entity who created this whole thing. Imagine that. And every single one of you has the right to that, because if you are here in this reality, you are already in a deep and intimate, consciously constructed, invested relationship with the creator of the matrix system, and with all the matrices, because there's more than one here. So the issue we have with the spiritual doctrine that gets disseminated in our world today, this is massive. This is a really big issue. These doctrines keep trying to convince you that you must participate in particular spiritual practices and rituals because you are lacking something, you are missing something, you're not good enough, you don't really have what it takes. So you must pray, and you must pray in a particular way, and you must do it regularly, or you must consume something in order to achieve something, in a particular state, or you must burn an incense or something like that, or and I'm not saying I don't do any of those things. I do. I like to use sage every now and then. I just don't use it very often, but every now and then I'll burn some sage, because me and Sage, we hang out together and we like working together. It's a good friend to have. So I'm not poo-pooing everything. I'm just trying to get a point across here, is you have actually everything you require. And all you need to do is get out of the mindset that tries to convince you that you must try and connect to something that doesn't, the connection's not there, or that you must try and achieve something that isn't. And all you need to do is actually relax into what is, rather than thinking you must achieve something that isn't. And that right there is the game changer. Right there.
You're spot on, George. And we were covering this document that was on CIA.gov about the Monroe Institute. And it was talking about manifesting reality, how consciousness works, how they train their CIA agents to essentially manifest and manipulate consciousness. And one of the things they covered was the magic wand of the magician. And the magic wand, according to this document, which is something that I felt before, was merely a visual representation, but the energy was actually coming from the practitioner or the person with the intention. I think the same goes for sage. The same goes for all these other things. It's just a visual representation of the energy that's coming out from within you. So you can do all these things without all these tools. That's what's incredible.
They're there to remind us of what we're capable of.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I feel the same way. I feel the same way with ayahuasca. I already have all this inside of me, but I drink the Aya every once in a while just to keep me a little more grounded in my raw consciousness. When this reality starts to just get a little bit too real, I go to Aya. She reminds me, oh, wait a minute. It's all just an illusion. You have the power inside of you. Oh, okay. Now I remember. Now I'm rebalanced again. All right. Onwards with the journey. So it's incredible how the game changes once again.
It does. And, we're in a physical world. And it's still nice. I enjoy, occasionally rolling a tobacco and having a tobacco. And, for me, it's been well over a week now since I've had any. It's not, I'm not a regular smoker or I don't have addictions, so to speak, in that way. I can fall into an addictive behavioral pattern. I have in the past had those issues. And I can acknowledge when I'm doing that, and if I start going into that space again, then I need to actually ask myself, why am I doing this? Because now all of a sudden the relationship is no longer balanced. It's no longer healthy. It's becoming unhealthy, and that's why I keep saying, and this is the other game changer. This is another big takeaway I want to give all you folks here is. It's not rocket science, it's relationship. I've said it before and I've got to say it again. If you take that quote away with you from here today and you just write it on the wall, just have it up there, and you realize that everything, and I mean everything that exists in this universe is based on relationship. There isn't anything that isn't. And it's if we approach everything rather than from a technological standpoint, meaning the term rocket science, and move over to relationship. And what is relationship? Relationship is harmonics. Relationship is fields of resonance. We're talking about harmony. We're talking about serendipity. So it's really, these are key changes, subtle changes, but when we make them, our whole existence here and the way we perceive this reality and the way we move through this reality changes. And they're changes we can all make, and they're very simple.
Very well said, George. On that note, let's take a quick break. And, one thing that I noticed, and I want to get into this on the other side, is that a lot of philosophies, New Age, religions, things like that, they tend to complicate things. And it's so convoluted where the answer is so simple, but they want you to jump through all these different hoops and go here and go there. And a lot of these speakers will try to describe consciousness, and they'll get into these really intricate, patterns and sacred geometry and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, that sounds really good. But at the end of the day, it's way too complicated. And it's almost as if they're setting up, and maybe they don't even know they're doing this consciously, but they're setting up these impossible tasks for people to where they look at this mountain and just go, you know what, this is just too much for me. I can't do this. I can't handle this. And then they just go back to sleep and do whatever. So on the other side, I do want to get into that as well. And do you want to get Sekhmet and Bastet? No, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Well, they're sleeping.
Oh, they're sleeping?
They're sleeping in their drawer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't
we
want to
got
wake
we
them
got these
up.
2 new black kitties, Sekhmet and Bastet. We've shown them on air before, but
I've got pictures of them.
yeah, they're brand new, and they're 10 weeks old now, and they've
Oh,
really helped
wow.
Cherie with her alchemy and her
Yeah.
magic spells and all of that.
Bastet especially. Like Bastet looks like Bastet. I mean, she really does 100%. She's black, all black, with a skinny face, skinny body. And
Sekhmet is a long hair black kitty. So she has the lion mane. And you know what's funny is before we got them, she said she wanted 2 cats for her birthday, and she's been bugging me for years. And I just visualized it and put it out there. And I said, I want 1 long hair black one, 1 short hair black one. We're going to name them Sekhmet and Bastet. They're both going to be girls. And I thought I'd have to go to different litters to find the 2. We found them from the same litter. I posted it on Facebook in the forum,
wow.
and somebody wrote immediately, like 5 minutes later, I got both of them right here for you.
Yep.
I was like, oh my God, it was just, it was divine.
I sent you some pictures if you want to put them up on the screen for
I
people.
will when we get back from the break. So ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We have another hour with George Kavassilas right here on Beyond the Veil.
Fellow travelers, always remember to walk uprightly and circumscribe your desires as we travel upon the level of time to that undiscovered state of consciousness, traveling to the place where once attained, no traveler returns. The place of raw consciousness which awaits us when we have passed beyond the veil.
All right. People in the chat are saying they like the song. I need to put it out on YouTube. It's called The Word of Wisdom, and it was one of my creations, and it was co-authored by Toth, the Atlantean. So, so there you go.
Emerald tablets.
Yeah, the lyrics are from the Emerald tablets, and I tried to stay faithful to the Emerald tablets. So I tried to, stay as close to them as possible. And I noticed that they had a rhyming scheme to them. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let's see if we can put this in a song. Because for me personally, it was something for me personally. It was to remember it over and over and over again. And by not only saying it and writing music to it, but also having a beat and a rhythm to it, it sticks. And so I think it was very important to do so. So I want to take a moment real quick to say thank you to Brianne. I don't know who exactly Brianne is, but we received this by mail. And this is, let me put you full screen here.
There we go.
It is a picture of an acacia tree from Florida from like 1945. It's an original picture. And it has an original article on the back, an original news clipping. What's the date on it, sweetie?
It says Sunday, December 11th, 1949, the Miami Herald, page 7E. Beauty of the acacia is shown in this picture of a large tree in the yard of Mrs. W.J. Crome of Avocado Drive Homestead. This is Acacia confusa, and it comes from the island of Formosa. Its foliage is very small, and the tree at a distance has a yellow...
Some of the articles,
green
this is the
appearance.
original newspaper that they sent us.
Although broken up a little by the 1945 hurricane that hit South something county, it's torn even on the side here. County, this old tree recovered quickly. Its beauty is unsurpassed by any other tree in Southeast Florida.
That's beautiful. So whoever sent that to us,
Gorgeous.
please let us know because
Thank
we
you.
want to thank you. And
It's beautiful.
it is. It's a piece of history.
Yeah, we're going to frame
and
this.
It's the acacia tree. It was one of the surviving trees from the big hurricane.
That's really neat, too.
Yeah.
And that's why the Egyptians revered the acacia so much, partly because it knows how to defend itself from animals eating it. It puts out like a poison, so it deters animals from eating its flowers, and also because of how hardy it is. it's almost as hardy as cannabis is and hemp.
Mhm.
I mean, that's how hardy the acacia tree is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And the acacia, just in case people are wondering, that's our go-to for our ayahuasca brew.
Uh-huh.
We make it the Egyptian way, which is the acacia and the Syrian rue. The Bedouins still use a Syrian rue in Egypt.
That's right.
And the acacia as well. So it is what it is. It's a powerful
How
plant.
much DMT do you think is in that tree?
Oh, I don't know. You have to. I wouldn't.
Or
that's
in the
not one
root
that
bark.
That's not one that you cut down. See,
Oh, no, of course
here's the thing,
not,
Here's
but
the
I'm
thing
just
about
saying.
the acacia. Okay, so it's considered an invasive species in
Mhm.
Hawaii. So it's urged to cut it down there because it's interfering with the ecosystem. It's not supposed to be in Hawaii. But it does contain a lot of special molecule. Stephanie sent Stephania sent a donation. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Good
so
morning
much.
from Sweden, beautiful souls. Good morning to you too, beautiful soul. And all the beautiful souls in the chat room as well. You guys and gals rock. The show would not be the same without all of you here with us. So let's get back to George. George Kavassilas is our guest for those of you just joining us, and we're talking about anything and everything. So before the break, George, I was talking about how we tend to manifest our own reality, and we create these spaces for ourselves, and sometimes these negative thought patterns, these negative loops, and so on and so forth, and getting ourselves out of it. And there were a couple of other things that I had brought up, and it totally slipped my mind. So take us away, please.
We distracted ourselves.
We did distract ourselves with the acacia tree. It'll come to me here in a moment.
Yeah, no worries. So when we're looking at the way we are in conscious relationship with this reality, we are therefore in conscious relationship with the beings who are the creators of these realities, and also the beings who and not the individual, not just the individual being, but also the main tenet of natural law is the prime creator of a reality is the ultimate authority of that reality and is the ultimate responsibility of that reality. That's natural law, LORE law.
Can I jump in for a minute, because I remembered what it was, and before I lose it again, we were talking about, and I did it to myself, how we tend to overcomplicate things. And the New Age overcomplicates, religions overcomplicate. They want to give you this large, convoluted path where the path is actually very simple. It's a path of realization. What would you say on that note?
I wholeheartedly agree.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's really, it is. It's a path of realization. We're becoming realized. We are, I have a passion for what is real. And it's like, how do we define what's real?
Well, for instance, you talked about getting out of the matrix, and this was the big aha moment for me. You said, look, I'm not trying to go up and down. I'm not trying to ascend. I'm not trying to go to the 12th dimension. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm just creating a hole out of the matrix universe. Simple. The shortest path, and carving a hole outwards. But we're given all these different systems of ascension and consciousness and so on and so forth. Is the goal still to carve a hole and exit the God?
I don't know if I ever used that
matrix?
term. Yeah, I don't know if I ever used that terminology with you. It's not really my languaging, to carve a hole. You may, because you talk to a lot of people, so you may have got that mixed up. So I'll tell you where I'm at today.
Okay.
Is for me today is I have chosen to enter this universe as I'll share it in the way that I shared it 2 days ago at my local organic farmers market. And I was sitting there with a lady who, she's on the path, like she's really looking and searching and that. And we've had a few exchanges, and she's a really, really beautiful being. And she asked me, she's looked at me, and from the exchange that we had, and she's also knows me through somebody else as well. She's looked at me and said, "Who are you?" And I just paused for a moment, and I was feeling into her energy, and because that's what we do in the natural order, we use an integrative process. So connect heart soul essence to heart soul essence, and through that unity, you can really comprehend where somebody's expressing themselves from. And I said, and I was thinking within myself, how am I going to answer this, which is in the best way for her to receive, you know? And I said to her, I'm an infinite being from the infinite nature of life who has chosen to enter this universe because I love what this universe has to offer. And what this universe has to offer is the opportunity for me to be dissected from the inside out in every way possible, so I could see all of my bits, and I can see all of my light, and I can see all of my shadow, and then find a way to improve on myself by having this grand opportunity to actually explore all these different fragments and aspects of self, components, because this is the only universe that provides that opportunity. And because it's a universe of contrasting expressions. And I said, and I've chosen to enter into the final stages of that journey, which is entering into this galaxy, into the solar system, and then onto the Earth and into this human incarnation. And because of the fractal nature of this reality, it facilitates that, you know, that final process for the opportunity for fully integrating all of my fragmented aspects, which enables me to come into an integrated unity and then transcend the requirements or the need for all these dialectics, all these distorted programs that are on offer everywhere in so many different dimensions of reality. And that just really put it in a nutshell for her. And that's where I'm at. That's just how I perceive reality. And inside the grand cosmic arena of this reality is a pseudo-universal paradigm, which is, because of the nature of this universe, if you have the being who is the creator of this universe, then by the very nature of this universe, you must have a being who's not of this universe enter this universe and then claim to be the creator. And this is what provides a beautiful opportunity of the birthing of this synthetic false light energy, meaning that the main universe we're inside of is natural light. It's organic. It's natural. It's first started. Its original expression, that final process was that. Are you guys still with me?
Yeah, we just had a little bit of loop back, but go ahead.
Okay. And then we have this synthetic universe that has been created out of this, you know, this entity creating its own version of light. And born, what that now provides is all the forces of limitation, all the challenges that we come up against through the dialectic of, because inside of that synthetic universe is God versus the devil. Because the entity that created that synthetic universe, which is like a bubble reality inside the much grander universe, is the entity that sees itself as the creator of all that is and all that exists. You know, but life is infinite, where once you go beyond this universe and you experience the omniverse, and not go beyond, it's return to, sorry, get my languaging right. Once we return to where we came from beyond this universe and experience the omniverse, and I'm not talking about the multiverse. The multiverse is inside this universe. That's all the parallel universes quantum physics talks about. Right, that's the multiverse. That's all inside this universe. Mm-hmm. Gives you an idea of how big the grand cosmic arena is that I talk about in all its dimensions. And then we've got the omniverse beyond this main universe. And in the omniverse are all other universes. and each universe is a being from the infinite nature expressing itself as a universe, and each one of those universes are a unique construct because they're unique expressions. The expression is the construct. So we have the omniverse, and then we have the infinite nature of life that we are all a part of, which has never been created.
Well,
So when you have an entity claiming to be the creator of all that is and all that exists, it's a massive question mark, which is, why would a being claim that? And why would it need to? And it becomes kind of glaringly obvious when you have an entity who claims that and also goes around soliciting worship.
Well, and things are getting really Gnostic up in here now, because now we're talking about the demiurge. It sounds like what you're describing is the demiurge.
That's the languaging I use. I call it the demiurge.
Yeah, which is I call it the bastard child of the unipolar Sophia. She created Yaldabaoth. She realized this is a monster. It needs to be hidden away because, this thing is just going to be destructive. So she hides it away in the cloud, aka, like a cloud server in a computer program, hide it in the cloud. And then because she hid it in the cloud, and this is according to the Gnostic text, because she hid it in the cloud away from the rest of creation, it thought that it was the only thing, and that nothing was more powerful or as big as itself. And so, yes, it's a part of this matrix that we're living in. It's not from the outside. It was created, but thinks it's the creator.
Here's a question, though. Here's a question that I would ask real quick, George. Is the demiurge external, or is it something inside of each and every one of us?
Both.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Please.
And this will be really confronting to a lot of people. Think of that position of the entity that wants to be the god of gods, the head of the mafia, is another way of putting it. That really is the one that wants to claim to be the creator of all that is and all that exists. Okay? Now, think of that, the way this universal creator is facilitating that to exist within its own universal embodiment. Think of that as an office of position. And that everybody who travels through this journey, just by the nature of this universe, at some stage in everybody's journey, will have this insatiable desire to become so self-deluded at some point in one's journey in this universe that one will claim to be that, and they'll become so enamored in their own self-serving light, so distorted. And that's what has happened to everybody. And I admit that happened to me at some stage in my journey in this universe. And I've met other people who totally remember also holding that office of position. And that awareness can only come once you choose consciously to end your addiction to the drama.
That's very interesting.
Otherwise, your awareness remains inside the story.
I've heard you speak before about being everything and anything in this journey and experiencing everything. But I never took it to that level of experiencing being the demiurge.
What does really getting what I'm talking about, what does it obligate you? What is it obligating in you now? If let's do it as a hypothetical, right? Okay. Let's say hypothetically, if what I'm saying is real, okay, what is it, that realization you're having right in this moment, what is it obligating?
It's obligating me to step outside of all experiences.
And the stories and the dramas.
Yes.
And the judgments.
Yep.
That's true. That's true. That is very interesting. I feel, and maybe I'm, it's just part of my journey, but I feel we've done this before. We've done this cycle before, and we had to come in for some reason. But there's a lot of people that haven't completed the cycle. And that's exactly what this matrix was created for perhaps a purification process so the beings can experience anything and everything and then come out of the machine kind of purified by having the wisdom of the knowledge through experience, because knowledge by itself is just knowledge. Knowledge with experience then becomes wisdom. And so for us to be divine creator beings, we have to experience everything and anything. Just like we were talking about in the first hour, how I was making the point that I had a relationship where I was treating the young lady horribly, but I didn't know any better until I was treated the same way. Then through that experience, I became much wiser and took that into the next journey, the next chapter.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's how I experience life. It's where I'm at. It's, I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm just sharing with you how I literally am experiencing my place in this world and in this universe and in life.
I would say you do have all the answers. We're just looking for the questions.
So all of us have all the answers.
Yes, exactly. We just have to find the right questions for these answers.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. And that's what we do when people like us get together and we have this dialogue. We end up having this beautiful, exchange. And when I get to talk to people like you, I'm realizing and remembering that I'm talking to somebody that, if you remove yourself out of linear time, then we get into this place of where past, present, and future exist all at the same time. So here's another suggestion that I want to make to you and to everybody who's watching and listening to this. We've all been assimilated into a hierarchical construct because of the God matrix, because it has to be the one at the top and everyone is below. And therefore, what's snuck in because of that into all the spiritual doctrine all around the world over the ages, millennia, is this notion that we need to connect, because we're the lowly ones down here, apparently, according to that doctrine, and we need to connect to our higher self. That's pretty rife in the New Age, isn't it? So I'm going to make a recommendation. I'm going to make a recommendation that you might want to consider connecting to your future self, the aspect of you that has already completed the journey. So you may actually get a more appropriate guidance than an aspect of you that is entrapped inside the God matrix.
Again, back to what I was saying a minute ago with this whole new workout path that I'm on. I'm just going through the motions to get to where I already am. So we can do that on the conscious level. Wow. I never really thought about taking it that far. I knew that we were buried under a whole bunch of garbage, like with just layers and layers and layers of garbage on top of our consciousness that we have to just kind of remove. But you're right. We are already there. We are already at the beginning. We are at the end. We are the alpha. We are the omega. It's all right there. They've just tried to take that away from us and ascribe it to some other being, whether it's a savior, messiah, demiurge, new age guru, any of that. But it's all inside. Always has been.
Always has been. And the original teachings of all, where it's Christ or Buddha or whoever, Muhammad, doesn't matter. They all shared this knowledge and wisdom with us. It's just the priestly caste took what they've said and turned them into a deific figure as an interface module for worship. So now a distorted version has been created, because we're all creator beings. The human race is a planetary race of universal creator beings. I have another quote I want to share with you. We are universal embryos in the planetary womb of the Divine Mother. So if we actually take that into consideration, and if we genuinely are at the end of this amazing journey, and we have an opportunity here to integrate into a unity and transcend all this drama and this dialectic, then we are the we are at the leading edge of the accumulation of knowledge and wisdom in the universe. And once we begin to consider that, and I mean seriously consider it, and if you have these entities out there that Buddha warned us about and called them the celestials, and that other people warned us about in ancient Greece and all that, called them the gods, and other names from other parts, other cultures around the world, then you have babies being born in this world that have access to more life force and more power than these gods ever will access due to the fractal nature of this reality. Because you have a baby that is being born that already has the capacity to access the universe right there and then. So
here's the question, though. How many cycles do we go through? Is this an infinite number of cycles, or is it one cycle completion and then we move on to something greater? Because I notice in my journey, I go through these cycles, but when I loop back around, I've got the wisdom from the previous cycle, so I'm repeating again, but I'm doing it better and better and better and better and better. But then again, when I think of those cycles, I think of the wheel of reincarnation over and over and over again, which is kind of endless at that point. So I don't know what's beyond this whole omniverse structure. Anything?
Well, the omniverse is so colossal. The only awareness I have from the experience that I had in 2003 is the infinite nature of life, where there is no beginning or end. You know, we always have been and we always will be. We've never been created. And that's what totally just smashes the God program out the window. It's like it's fully exposed for what it is. Even the most intricate version of it, called the one infinite creator, right? So you even have that. That is the God program trying its very best to try and claim that it is infinite and still your maker at the same time, right? So the reality, if people want to get to what's real, the reality we need to come to terms with is that life has never been created. Life always has been, always will be. There's no beginning or end to it. And when we genuinely start, I'm just going to use the terminology, remembering. When we genuinely start to remember where we've come from and how it is that we've ended up in this world, we begin to have an awareness that is residing beyond all distortion fields. And when you look around, if like when I relax into myself, I can not only experience my existence in my unity with Mother Earth or the sun or the galaxy or the universe, you know, that unity with the universal creator, which is a really beautiful experience, by the way. It's an awesome being. But when you experience life beyond this universe, you're experiencing your infinite nature. And it's all here with us right now and available. And every time I begin to experience my infinite nature here, which I do regularly, at least once a day, and there's days where I'm in it quite a bit, then when you observe, what you observe here becomes so obvious. It is ridiculous. The greatest challenge that occurs then is knowing what not to say, because you have a vantage point that is just so beyond the game and all the games. It's when I talked about the nesting of matrix systems, it really is that. That's what's going on here. And that's why people find it so confusing, that we have a technical intelligence-based matrix here, which some people call AI. Mm-hmm. I call it technical intelligence because that's its ecosystem. Right. It lives in technology, right? Even though it tries to create biomimicry, it's still technology. So it's a technical intelligence. And that matrix system that it's created is vast. It's multidimensional. It's incredible. But that is nested inside of another matrix. And that other matrix is what people perceive as freedom from the technical intelligence matrix. And the matrix, the TI matrix, is nested inside the hologram of the gods. And the hologram of the gods is constructed using geometry. And so the religion of sacred geometry is all about the hologram of the gods. And then nested those two, and then nested inside the natural organic matrix that the universal creator has created. Because you need to understand, as a creator being, how do you create a reality, and how do you create a fractal reality? How do you create a series of nested realities? Because remember, if you are the universal being, then you are responsible for everything that takes place in the universe. That's, remember, the natural law. Yeah? The prime creator of a reality is the ultimate authority of that reality and is the ultimate responsibility of that reality. So depending on where your awareness lives, where your awareness resides, will depend on what you perceive and what you experience. And what's happened to me is reconnecting back home to my infinite nature beyond this universal construct. I'm able to navigate, and because I know I'm existing in all of these matrices all at the same time. And beyond the natural organic matrix is the natural order of life, which is not based on the construct of numbers. And this is what people really, really, really need to come to terms with, is that life came first, numbers came after. So the concept that life is constructed using geometrical patterns, anyone who talks to me in that manner speaks clearly, like it's an absolute definition, that person's awareness is inside the matrix of the gods. Because that's how they see realities are created.
You're absolutely right. I mean, when we look at the code in these very heavy DMT states, we see the sacred geometry, and we've come to recognize that this is all code built up inside of the matrix. The one thing that I can't wrap my head around, George, is, and maybe you can help me clear this up, but the idea that we exist in multiple matrices at the same time. I've heard this philosophy over and over and over again, and I was actually going to ask your opinion, but then you went into that. But having a fractured consciousness, we can call it a fractaled consciousness, but I see it as a fractured consciousness. That means that we can't ever get back to a point of being whole. And then we have to ask ourselves, well, right now in this particular matrix and this experience that I'm having now, how do I know this is the real experience? How do I know that this is the raw consciousness element? And what about those other ones? Are they also experiencing the idea that they're the raw consciousness elements? And at what point does it all converge upon one another? You see, this is where it just kind of, this idea loses me. Can you clear it up for me, please?
Sure. I'm going to use a little analogy. So you remember when you were growing up and, you didn't feel quite right about the whole thing called the education system. You knew something was off. And we knew certain things were off about our society, but it wasn't until, and I just need to ask you a straight out question, when did you find out about the fiat currency system? The
currency system. As in
the biggest
Ponzi
currency scheme on the planet. The biggest Ponzi scheme on the planet called the central banking system, right? That run by the mafia. When did you first hear about that system?
When I first really understood it, I would say was in like 2006, 2007, during the truther days, that kind of, awakening. There was a process, first it was the realization of the left and right. Then it was the realization of bin Laden and the Bush connections there on 9/11. Then it was the truth movement stuff. Then it was the consciousness stuff. And now, here we are way, way, way on a whole nother level. But yeah, it's been a while, but it wasn't at the very beginning of life, for sure.
It wasn't. So you went many years and, because we're similar age, kind of. And, and, when you look around, I think
we're around the same age. So yeah,
I think so.
I just look a lot younger. So
yeah, that's it. you got your beautiful Adonis thing going on
there.
Uh, so now when you look at the world and you look at society and you look at the whole financial system, you know what it is. Like there's no second guessing. Am I wrong about the fiat currency system?
No, it's
No.
like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like those memes that go around.
Once you see it,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's what,
Right.
the thing is, it goes the same with, the same applies with the code, the matrix code. Like I look at things and I can see the code, I can see the geometry moving through things. And once you see it, you just can't unsee it.
It's hard not to see it again. It's a knowing. I'm trying to explain it a way that I'm trying to use a localized analogy. So analogy that's localized, so you can begin to grasp where I'm coming from. In 2003, when I had my experience and I reintegrated with my soul and my unity with the universal creator, and I experienced myself beyond spirit and beyond consciousness. And then I experienced my infinite nature beyond this universe. Experienced the omniverse, and I experienced what it means to be infinite again. Changes everything. I just cannot. I can try, and this is what my work is based on, helping people to remember, so people can come back home to their infinite nature. I mean, this is the essence of my work. And when people do, and they do that, they honestly, there's people who tend to my courses and my workshops and things, and they are achieving that. And when people remember they are infinite and not just walk around with it as an ideological concept, but genuinely embody it, they never go back. Like never. It's a done deal. And you can easily identify the different matrix systems that are here. They have a distinctive vibrational field to them. They have a distinctive energetic pattern to them, and it's unmistakable. And there's the three distinct layers of matrix systems, and then there's the natural order.
What's funny though, George, is once you identify these systems, you can transmute them. And so with money, for example, I used to hate money because money was the root of all evil, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And money was never in my sphere because what I hate is not going to come into my sphere.
Right.
Then I started to realize what money really is, at least on an energetic level. You remove the system of control and the central banking and all of that, and you realize that money, currency, is actually energy. And it's the energy that it's somebody's life force. So when people would give me $1, for example, for whatever it was, or hundreds of dollars or whatever for services or something like that, I always try to return an equal amount of energy, if not more. Once I started doing that, then all of a sudden the game changed. And now we're drawing in just as much energy as we're putting out. If I can take a moment to plug our CBD oil, ILife, AYALife.com, that's exactly what we did with this. It wasn't an idea of, okay, well, how can we make a bunch of money? It was an idea, first of all, how can we help people? How can we create an
That's
energy?
how it works.
Yes. Once we put that out there, it's working so well for people that, it's creating that energetic currency. But up until this point, it didn't matter what I did. It just didn't work because I didn't put the heart into it. I didn't put the love into it. I didn't put the energy into it like we do with ILife.
So what are you actually, what are you describing there, right? You're describing your relationship with currency,
right?
The energy that flows, right? And that's what people that's a beautiful picture. That's awesome.
We mix it with ayahuasca. So it's got the extract from the ayahuasca vine and also the extract from the hemp, and it fuses together. And we've received some reviews recently about two people, two synchronistic right in a row. One person, their grandmother was starting to kind of wind down in life, and as soon as they started taking ILife, she was out gardening and doing all this. And the person wrote and was like, "Oh my God, thank you! My grandmother's back and she's out and she's running around." Another person wrote right after that and said that their grandmother was passing away, and was at really the end of the life. And she couldn't eat, she couldn't talk, she was in constant pain. They gave her the eye of life. She started eating, she started talking, she would stay up with him and talk to him all night long. And she wound up passing away a few weeks later because she was at the end of her life, but it gave her the ability to spend those last few moments. People were writing about
Quality.
tennis elbow, they're writing about all kinds of stuff. There's something magical about this, and I think it has more to do with the energy than anything else. But anyways, enough plugs for Aya Life. That's ayalife.com. But go ahead, George, please.
Oh no, it's great. I really I love all these natural remedies because Big Mama's got everything we require for all our dis-ease and ailments and illnesses. If they exist, that means the remedy's here too. It's really that simple.
That's
true.
right.
Let me ask you something real quick, because this is kind of on topic here. I'm not going to say who it is unless they said it in the chat room, Cherie. But one of our listeners just informed us, and we're sending them a few free bottles right now.
Sandpaper.
He said it in the chat?
Yeah, he said it in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sandpaper just informed us, who's been a long-time listener, George.
Yeah,
I mean,
many years.
Yeah, many, many years. He has an inoperable brain tumor. And he just dropped that into the chat earlier. So what's the best way? What's the mindset for that type of experience?
All right. So because I'm a big picture guy. So it's like, what is the big picture of, the C word that everyone talks about, cancer? And this is my personal opinion, not medical advice, all that disclaimer, right? It's got to go in there. And it's a super weird perspective, seriously. So what is cancer? Well, I talked about before how we've got this massive universe that we're inside of. It is like so big, way bigger than anyone realizes, really. It took me a while to come to terms with it. And then inside the universe, in one part of the universe, because the universe is divided into two realms. We've got the grand cosmic arena, and then we've got another realm beyond the great void, which is completely harmonious. And in the grand cosmic arena is where it's a different expression of form. And the grand cosmic arena is a vast multidimensional construct. And when people talk about 12th dimension and 10th dimension and 7th dimension, we're all talking about realities inside of the grand cosmic arena. And it's a bit challenging to lay it out here, but then inside the grand cosmic arena, we have this bubble reality in it. And inside that reality, the construct of it is this false light matrix, it's a synthetic universe. Yeah. Now that is a cancerous growth inside the main universe. And so because we are at the end of the journey that we've been on, in a fractal journey, and the fractal nature of our being, because that false light construct is the nature of it is for it to go around doing whatever it wants to out of harmony with the greater universal body. And because it's an entity that solicits worship, its whole premise is based on consumerism. It needs to consume realities, and it needs to consume natural life to assimilate it. And so because we are existing in these human bodies that their construct is universal fractal incarnational vessels, then there are people here that are experiencing what it feels like to be the universal creator, to have this growth inside of it that wants to actually take it down, basically, to destroy it. So it becomes a non-resonant form of life that seems to just eat into and erode the rest of the natural order. So that's my weird and wacky take on the premise of what is cancer from the point of view of the big picture.
Wow. That's
that's
incredible. I had a friend, George, about
sorry, I just want to
go ahead.
I'm sort of in that space where I'm tracking energies. Okay. And I just want to say to the person who made that statement earlier about there's a growth in the head. This space here has to do with consciousness. See, consciousness is universal mind energy. And when we're dealing with consciousness or issues of consciousness, it means that there is a process to do with distortion fields in the realm of consciousness. So what kind of it's like any form of dis-ease in this area, the focus has to be mind and consciousness, the studies of it. And once the answers are found, the dis-ease dissipates. That's what I found. When I was grief-stricken with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, on the disability pension for 10 years, living below the poverty line in Australia for over 10 years, in absolute agony, days I just spent crying in agony and pain, crawling on my hands and knees to get to the toilet from the bed. Not exaggerating. And it was hard. It was really hard. And on top of that, being abducted and raped and tortured on top of that. So I had it pretty tough. It's kind of like, yeah, I did the hard yards to get to where I'm at today. I'm not saying anybody has to go through what I went through, but for some crazy reason, that's the life that I had created. And I needed to understand why. I got to the point where I kept trying to run away from what I had going on. And then my experiences were showing that if I am to truly comprehend what it is I'm going through, then I'm going to be able to transcend what is affecting me. So, because whatever we experience is what we have chosen to create, and whatever we create is an opportunity for a learning from that experience. And we need to get out of the victim mentality in order to be able to address things on this level. And I played the victim so well for so long. Oh, far out, I was good at it. I was good at it. And when I look back and I look at my behavior and the things I was doing, unbelievable. And until I started really just owning it, and then through love, honor, and respect and gratitude and appreciation for the perpetrators and the things they did to me, and to be able to find real closure, to be in a spaceship and to be getting tortured by a group of ETs and looking at them all and going, I don't care what you do to me. I just want you to know I'm going to always love you. And the energy just goes, it just came out of my heart, my soul, like that. It was a big burst of energy that comes out. This light comes out of me, right? I could see it. Everyone in the spaceship could see it. And it changed everything and everyone. I was immediately put back in my bed. They never came back and got me again. So I went, oh, maybe the same process can be used for my fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. So I just sat. And I sat with my mate, Mary Jo, and her and I hung out for a long time because it was the best medicine I had at the time. Pharmaceuticals nearly killed me. And so we're hanging out, and I'm just journeying deep. And I'm going, I need to find out why I've created this. So now I'm coming from the perspective of being a responsible creator being. And I'm journeying into my pain. Every pain that I felt, I would journey into the pain. I would embrace it. I wouldn't live in denial of it. Okay, I've got this pain. What's the message? What's the message? What are you trying to tell me? And then what I did was I started finding the message in everything. And the pain became my best friend because it never lies. And pain only turns up when it's got something to tell you. And the moment you get the message from pain, pain goes away. And that's when people get the incredible, miraculous healings and all sorts of amazing things. Like my friend, if you go on my membership website, my friend Greg, he was given 6 weeks to live, riddled with cancer. And he just turned around to the doctor and said, I'm good. I've got this. The doctor said, you're suffering delusions from the shock of the news, blah, blah. He goes, no, I've got this. 3.5 years later, he's doing fine because he went home. He just did all the inner work to find out what the message was in it, totally turned himself around. And with the help and support of the actual, what Mother Earth has to offer, and yes, CBD oil became a big part of that process and other things, he was able to turn it all around to get to the point where there's nothing bad in his body anymore. So we all have the capacity to do that. We just got to work out whether, is this your exit point? Is this your exit strategy? Because, the future's already happened. Or is this a beautiful opportunity where you get to turn it around and have an experience of life like no other?
Well said. We're sending a few bottles over to Sandpaper. You know what? He sent a $5 donation the other day, and he added, "It's all I have in my PayPal account, but I wanted you guys to have it."
Aww.
I was like, dude, that's incredible.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So
this is community.
I had a friend, this is what I was going to get to, and you actually said a very similar story, George. I had a friend about 10 years ago, and she had a brain tumor as well. And she's still around, and she's riding motorcycles, and she's completely transcended all of that. And I remember I moved away at the time. She was in Dallas, and I was moving to Denver. And I keep contact with her on Facebook, but I expected her to just pass. And she's still alive and kicking and running around like... It's incredible how it's really mind over matter when it comes to these kind of things. My grandfather, they told him he had 6 months to live, and he couldn't afford to pay the bill. So the doctor gave him another 6 months. Anyways, I have to throw in some humor every once in a while because, like you said earlier, if you're not having fun, there's no point in doing it.
Exactly.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, George, give us your website real quick.
Okay. Yep. My website is weareinfinite.love. So there you go. It's really, that's the URL, weareinfinite.love. And on the outside of the website, you can gain access to a few things, some articles. And if you go to announcements, you can see the sort of activities that are going on inside the membership website. Membership is only about a cup of coffee a week. That's all it is. So it's great value, and you'll get life-changing information in there. We do a monthly webinar. There's a WTF George, which is very, very popular, where people write in questions, and I shoot videos of me answering the questions to the best of my ability, and it's lots of fun. And big small talk. I did a ripper yesterday. It's going to be challenging for a lot of people because it's to do with my take on the pineal gland. Ooh, controversy.
Yes. And the chakras too. Somebody actually wrote us and said, can you ask George about the chakras? I just had mine removed. I feel great. I'd like to do this real quick though. If we can keep you for a little bit longer, I want to take a quick break, and then maybe we can get into a couple of listener questions, and we won't keep you too long because I know you are slammed and you're always really gracious with your time.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I'm happy to stay for as long as you like, and I'm just going to go have a potty break though.
Awesome. Okay, no problem. We will be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with more right here on Beyond the Veil.
Fellow traveler, the cries of the mistress speak again, bidding organic consciousness a welcome to the House of Light. The great institution of materialism has failed. The false civilization built by man has turned like a monster, destroying its creator. Science battles itself impotently against the barriers of the unknown. Only your consciousness knows the true path. You, the illuminated, can carry the understanding upwards towards the light. Only your consciousness can teach the children of men to live well, to die well, and in perfect measure, be born again, through the knowledge of virtue, compassion, love, and true understanding, as you are sublimely raised, beyond the veil.
All right, we are back with our special guests. I have in my hands Sekhmet, who is just adorable.
And this is Bastet.
And Bastet. Cherie has Bastet. And I think, were they napping?
Yes.
Oh,
they were
they've
in
been
their
napping
drawer
for several hours, but
yeah,
they wanted to come and say hello to everybody.
They're growing so quick, you guys.
They are, huh?
They're getting so big so quick.
I've realized, you said something interesting, that these were our temple kitties from Egypt.
Yep.
And they've come back.
Oh,
and there was
I
a practice
completely
back then
believe that
of
now.
mummifying them.
Uh-huh.
It's so weird because, I don't know, they're remembering us. They're like, hey, look how calm Sekhmet is. She's just like, yeah, it's cool. Today they saw their first thunderstorm. And they ran to Daddy. And Daddy
Yes,
had
they
to
did.
hold on to them.
Yeah, they see Chris as their protector and me as the, cuddler and snuggler, and they do sit there with me while I'm doing my tarot, and my tarot has gotten way accurate just in the last couple of weeks. Way even more accurate than it was before. And then Bastet especially, she likes to sit with me and make the different teas, different alchemical brews that I make, and she just watches intently.
Yeah, she was brewing some Aya the other day,
Uh-huh.
and Bastet was around going, ooh, I know this stuff.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to bless this stuff. It's so weird.
Yeah.
George, what's your take on these animals here? Because, I see this as a matrix, and we're obviously the intelligent beings in here, and these are like little computer programs, but then I look at these little guys, and I'm like, no, there's something more to these guys. What's your take?
My take is that we have animals here that are just a natural part of the construct of nature. And then we have some animals that are just like people. There's variations in the human world. It's the same in every realm or every queendom or kingdom, whatever terminology you want to use. So even in the realm of the trees, but what I find when it comes to our pets, you can see that some people just have a dog or a cat and they tend to do their own thing. But I'm finding for more of the people that tend to be more awake and aware, you might end up having someone, let's say somebody's come here from another dimension in another star system. You may end up having a brother or a sister from that place enter into an incarnational construct as an animal in this reality that's going to come into your life and support you through your process. And what tends to happen is the animals that we have in our lives tend to really take on a lot of our stuff. And they also can bring a lot more balance into our lives. I had a blue healer for 14 and a half years. Her name was Angie, and she was beautiful. She ended up with cancer of the sinuses, and it was a really difficult time when I had to let go of her. But it was amazing. I really thanked her, and I remember looking her fair in the eye when she took her last breaths, and thanking her for carrying so much of my pain and alchemizing it, because without her being in my life and the role that she played in my life, I doubt whether I'd be here right now, to be honest.
George, it's funny you mentioned that because Cherie and I both had similar experiences. My dog Skittles, my chest was hurting really bad, and he died of congestive heart failure.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if he took it from me. And I went and got blood work and everything. Everything's like completely 100%. Cherie had a cat named Babette, and she had pneumonia. And then Babette.
No, I had strep throat,
Oh,
and it turned into scarlet fever.
Scarlet
at that
fever.
Point. Yeah.
And Babette sat on her chest, and then died shortly after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I don't, like how much more evidence do people require?
Yeah,
right.
Really? Yeah.
Right.
I put Skittles down, and we took him up to the mountain, and the vet actually gave me the injector after she put
the
it
syringe.
in him.
Yeah.
Yeah, she gave me the syringe. It was connected to this long tube,
the IV,
and she said, "Here, go ahead and let him go whenever you're ready." And he went around, he barked, It came back, collapsed in my lap, and that's when she put it in. And I knew it was time to let him go, and I felt so bad about it afterwards. But then I realized we are responsible for loving them, caring for them, feeding them, making sure that they're happy, also to let them go peacefully.
Right.
So
Correct.
And not let them suffer any more than they have to.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are
I
little
agree.
tragedies waiting to happen, though. That's what I told Cherie. I said, these are little tragedies. And 15 years from now, there's going to be a huge tragedy in the house.
Yeah, but anything could happen in the next 15 to 20 years. I mean, cats are living to be 18 to 20 years in some cases. And I really believe that these cats are something special. Like, they feel sacred to us. And so we're going to take incredibly good care of them to the point where, the only thing they're going to die of is old age.
I hope so, because they love to go outside. I took them out. They're
Yeah,
chasing
they
bugs,
do.
and I feel so bad about just leaving a cat inside all the time. That's not a way for an animal to live.
Yeah, that's true.
But we have coyotes that live on the other side of the fence.
Uh-huh.
And so we're like, oh, man, it's very dangerous. But
Right.
that's neither here nor there. So let's move on to the chakras and the pineal gland, because one of our listeners wrote us and said, hey, I see you're having George on. I just had my chakras removed. I'm feeling great. I'm loving it. Some people love their chakras. They really want to hold on to them. And then you also mentioned the pineals. So I don't know if we can get into that, or if that's something that people need to go to weareinfinite.love to get more information about. So take us away, please.
Well, I can touch on it. It's when it comes to the chakras, for example, I copped a lot of flack for coming out and making the statements that I'd made. Most people don't realize I was making those statements from direct experience. Because of their belief systems around the chakras, they thought I was a disinformation agent and I was just spreading rumors and lies, because I had to, in their eyes and in their minds, because of their attachment to them. And if people need to hold on to their chakras, by all means, hold on to your chakras. What's important, though, is for people to be able to make an informed decision, to know exactly what they are and what frequencies in the universe do they operate in. What are they doing to us as a human being? Have they, the questions they need to be asking themselves is, have they always been a part of our human physiology, or are they something that has been added in the not too distant past? And I kept experiencing my past and future self when we are functioning in other dimensions from just a single point. Unity, just like that. Okay, just a single point, and it's beneath the chakra system is our point of unity. It's like it's the question of, how do we actually, with the continuous flow of intention animating ourselves into existence in this reality, how do we literally pierce the veil of this reality and animate ourselves into being? And this is where I'm coming from. And so we have two distinct systems of the way the energies flow in our bodies. So the concept of the chakra system is connected to Kundalini, which is connected to the pineal gland, right? Connects to the pineal gland. And so we've got this three-way system, which is part of the spiritual doctrines and practices in so many places around the world. Not all, but quite a few. And what I find, just off the cuff, just straight up off the cuff, what I find fascinating is how in the conspiratorial realm, how many people give either fanatical evangelistic Christians a hard time, or they give Freemasons and secret societies such a hard time. And they call them either Satanists or Luciferians and all this sort of stuff. Yet they're doing exactly, and I mean exactly, the same practice. Because to become a 33rd degree Freemason, you need to get the Kundalini to go up the 33 vertebrae of the spine and hit the eye of God, which is the pineal gland, and then open up to that level, that type of awareness. It is an identical process. It is just labeled differently, packaged differently, presented differently. And whether you come from an Eastern religion, where the evangelistic people, that the preacher comes and puts the hand on the head of the person and knocks the person out, is because the preacher doing it is possessed by the God entity. And when they put the hand on the forehead, it activates the pineal gland, reaches right down the spine of the person energetically, and pulls up the Kundalini instantly up into the pineal gland, and gives the person this euphoric experience. They call it the Holy Ghost. So we have this really interesting similarity going on in all of these things. And when one is able to experience oneself beyond this fragmented state, because what the chakras are doing is they're pulling us into a fragmented state of being. We're being compartmentalized. So when you experience your unity deep within, and the unity that we are in other dimensions of time and space, coming back into this body and then experiencing the chakra system where you just get fragmented and compartmentalized, and then you just watch people venerate it and say how wonderful they are, and like a car needs to be regularly serviced, people go and they get the chakras balanced, and then they walk out, and then a week later they go get them balanced again because they keep getting out of balance. And
I see it over and over and over again. Yeah,
it's and all the rituals and the practices that are being venerated around these constructs is amazing. So when people transcend the chakras in the process that I facilitate, we summons the creator of the chakra system because we know it's technology. So we literally summons that entity, and it's an amazing experience to be able to bring closure to the actual law, LRE law agreement that is in place, that we are having this incredible experience with these chakras. So we're not ripping them out or discarding them or anything like that. I don't use that process. For me, it's all done with love, honor, and respect. We tend to the agreement we have with the entity who actually designed and created them, and was the head scientist and part of, in the Atlantean era, in infusing them into the human physiology along with the pineal gland. So we're dealing with technology. We're dealing with cosmic conquerors that know how to approach a planetary population from a multidimensional perspective, and over millennia apply really clever technologies, infuse them into the physiology so they can even appear as though they are now part of the physiology. And when you look at the pineal gland and the role that it plays, and how it plays this cardinal role, and it got between the pituitary and the amygdala, which is the pituitary, the masculine, the amygdala, the feminine, used to hold our endocrine system in this beautiful, harmonious, balanced state. But now, just like the moon got placed between the sun and the earth, we get the pineal gland that gets between the masculine and the feminine. And now, all of a sudden, we have a mind matrix. And we have this veneration of processes that are involved in that. And the big small talk I did yesterday was with looking at the technical data now emerging about the pineal gland. It is a piezoelectric device. There is 100% zero doubt of what it is.
The way I see it, George, is I want to get in touch, or I am in touch, let's just say that, with what I was or what I am before any of these experiences, which includes the chakra system, which includes the pineal gland, because these are all inside of the matrix system itself. They're created by the matrix system. So you have to remove all of that and go beyond all of that. Cherie likened the chakras to strings on a puppet, and you can pull at your throat chakra, your heart chakra, your root chakra, all of that. And that's how the matrix kind of manipulates us
it can
through
be
our
a
body
huge
computers.
tool for manipulation.
You mentioned Freemasonry and systems like that. And I find that a lot of people externalize and project upon secret societies or upon something. There's always got to be some kind of adversary that keeps them from looking within to face down the darkness within themselves and change their own reality. But what I have found with Freemasonry is that it's linked to the Osirian mystery schools at a very, very, very deep level, but it's covered in so many veils of deception. So first of all, as you mentioned, you've got the Luciferian whole conspiracy behind it. When you remove that veil and you actually look at the rituals of Freemasonry, they're all extremely Christian, like 100% Christian. It's all like Christian. I don't want to go too much into detail, but then you go beyond that into like Scottish Rite, for example. That gets into like Kabbalah. Now you're getting into like Jewish mysticism and things like that. But I think beyond all of those levels, you get the Osirian mystery schools, which is the reconstruction of consciousness. But would you say that that in and of itself is a deception as well?
There is the original sharings of knowledge and wisdom that are not distorted. The issue we have is there's a group of people on this planet, and it is a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and they are the ambassadors for these gods. And what they do is they'll take the teachings of somebody or the sharing of the knowledge and the wisdom, and they will alter it, and they will distort it, and they will manipulate it. So the intentions of the people are then being, it's because we are these incredibly powerful creator beings, and it's about not allowing us to express our creative potential, but it's rather about apprehending and subjugating our creative potential. So if you're a cosmic conqueror, putting forces on the ground and doing it from the outside is old school. It's childish. You always get a revolt. The most clever of cosmic conquerors do it from the inside out. Now, to do it from the inside out, you have to study a reality. You have to study it and study it, study it. Then you start creating systems that are going to hijack the perception of reality that that paramount race has on that planetary system. And then when you do implement these systems, these constructs, what you do is you create spiritual practices and doctrine around these technologies and these constructs. So then you get people to venerate what they are actually have been infused with. So what this does is it's the workaround in the apprehension of the will of the actual race of the people of that planetary system. It is unbelievably clever, and it's such a powerful process that they use, unbelievably powerful, that they, because, we're dealing with the gods, and we're dealing with entities that have been around this universe, not just for a few millennia or a few eras of time. We're dealing with beings that have been around epochs and eons of time. And think of the most advanced, sophisticated technologies going around. And if you look at it from that point of view, it is so glaringly obvious that if you have ritual practice around these technologies, then you're overriding free will. Then people are loving their journey into imprisonment. They're loving their journey into a paradigm and a reality that the gods have constructed, and it's a matter of a farmer relocating the herd because the paddock the herd was in is becoming toxic. So you got to make it look like the grass is greener over the other side, and usually it is. The borders get further out, you get given more toys to play with, and all of a sudden we go from a centralized system of control to an outer rim control system with free radical movement inside there. So then people start living the illusion of freedom. All right, so all of a sudden our awareness goes multidimensional. We go back to the stars. People are reactivating DNA strands. So they're being recycled back into the cosmic arena, back into physicality and form. Even though it's multidimensional, it's still an entrapment because it's still just form, right? So it's, the whole thing about reactivating DNA strands is a trap. It's all about recycling people back in. We got down to 2 strands of DNA. Why? Because we got everything in this pathway to compression. And when you get the 2 strands of DNA and you integrate them, you can then transcend all dialectic of all physical form. It's the exit path, is to actually transcend DNA altogether. So all the people that are buying into the whole disclosure program, New Age movement thing about reactivating more strands of DNA, they're just buying right back into the whole narrative of going back into the prison.
I agree with you, George. And my philosophy is go the opposite direction of the herd. If there's something out in the mainstream consciousness, whether it's New Age or religion or any of that, it's most likely a deception. You might find a few nuggets of truth. Somebody had mentioned here in the chat, somebody told them, or they heard or read somewhere, I don't remember the context, but they said, I can give you 99% truth to get you to swallow the 1% poison. And that's what they do to us all the time. They give us more and more and more and more and more truth to get us to swallow that little bit of poison that keeps us in that wheel of reincarnation, recycling, and ultimately robbing us of our power and getting us to use our own power against ourselves. Cherie, if you get a chance, if you can send George that CIA document, because I think this would be great for you to cover on your webinars, George, because they basically outline all of this and how the governments know that we create and manifest reality and how they can manipulate us into manifesting the reality that they want, and they train their CIA agents to do this to us. I mean, it's
exactly
plain as
right.
day.
That's what the gods are doing. They're getting us to create the reality they want us to create because they're manipulators. They're not creators.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And read over that. You're gonna look at this and go, oh, this is exactly what we've been talking about.
This is exactly what I've been saying for 10, 15, 20 years. Yep.
Thank you. Did you want me to look at that now?
No, just on your own spare time.
Yeah, later.
If I didn't send it to you now, I'd probably forget. So.
Yeah, that's good. So when it comes to accessing life's knowledge and wisdom and, what is real through the pineal gland, you need to understand that all devices that receive, it's a transceiver, so it transmits and receives frequencies. It limits you because it only has the capacity to perceive certain frequencies of reality. If you want to transcend that limitation and be able to access all knowledge, no matter where it is in life, you need to relax into your heart soul essence. And when I'm pointing in here, even though I'm pointing in this place on my body, it's actually not attached to my physical nature, but it's a space-time location inside of me. And from in there, I'm piercing the veil and I'm doing this. I've got my own little big bang, and this is how I then animate my existence into reality. We come from a point of unity where we are, let's say you travel with your awareness into the quantum field, which is, part of the processes we do in my courses. We journey into the quantum field, and literally in the quantum field, all you see is these forms of energy just flowing all around you. It's really beautiful. And what the quantum field is made up of is intention. It's beginning to manifest itself into form. So intention first becomes energy. And because we go to the quantum, then we go subquantum. So for us to really comprehend how we are existing in this reality from beyond the veil, right? There, I use that little line.
Well, you also said piercing the veil, and I'm sure somebody's going to go start a show called Piercing the Veil now. We got Lifting the Veil. We've got all kinds of... Anyways.
They're all over the place, yeah.
So... It's amazing how many of my sayings are being plagiarized. It's unreal. I didn't come up with Beyond the Veil, though. You guys came up with that one.
Actually,
So-
it's an old term.
It's an old
We
term,
stole it
yeah.
from the Christians. I wanted to just kind of take it from them and go, oh, no, this is mine now.
Uh-huh.
So, when it comes to really understanding or understanding, shall I say, how we come to be. So if I just move here like that, I just relocated my space-time location. Okay? So at any given moment, what you need to realize from your infinite nature, the energy is flowing into this universe with your intention to be in this universe, experiencing a unity with the universal creator, and it's flowing, spreading out and experiencing all realities and dimensions of time and space in this universe. And then we're bringing it all back together again through this fractal process, entering this galaxy, this solar system, and Earth and humanity. And when I say entering this galaxy, it's not just one stream of energy coming into this galaxy and straight to the sun and straight to Earth. We came into this galaxy, then we spread out, and we had incarnational experiences in every star system. It's been a long journey. Because if you haven't had particular experiences, then you can't become, a fully fledged universal being. There's still experiences waiting to be had. And it's not about, I don't want to use the word graduating and becoming, putting a gold star on your forehead or anything like that. It's the reason we enter into realities, whatever universe it is because we want to understand and understand everything there is about that construct and about the nature of the construct. So when you come from that place beyond judgment, beyond these distortion fields, you just realize that an expression of life is just that, an expression of life. And they have different themes and different modes of operating, MO and all these different things. So from this perspective, we get to realize that we are entering into this reality where we're bringing all our timelines and everything that we've seen, everything that we've done, everything that we've been in this universe are integrating into a unity. And it is the most amazing planet. Now, if hypothetically you take what I've just shared about life in this whole podcast here, and then you look at the extent of imposition in our world, and then you look at all the ET abductions and all the breeding programs and the hybrid programs, what I have just shared answers every single one of those, all of it, because it took me ages to work out why I was having the experiences I was having. And once I did, and I grasped or remembered, shall I say, the big picture of life, everything just goes boom, 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 boom. Everything fits. And this is why I piss so many people off, because it includes everything. Nothing is left out. Every ideological system, every religious system, all the gods, everything there is in the expression of life in the universe works in and fits into the framework and the model of life that I'm presenting, cosmology according to George. And it's not mine. I don't own it. I'm sharing with you what I have seen and what I've experienced. And you go, well, that's just your perspective. It's just your truth, because, truth is relative. And I get that a lot from people. What I do want to say to people is not all truth is relative. I'll give you an example of that. I'm going to give you an example of that because people like to throw that one at me a lot. This aspect of me and this aspect of you are having this dialogue on this planet, and I'm experiencing it, and you're experiencing it, and everyone listening to this is experiencing it, and there's nothing relative about it. So you can have an aspect of relativity which is only minor to an experience. But the fact that we are all incarnate on Earth at this time, in this reality, call it a hologram, whatever you like, we are all here having this experience together. There is nothing relative about that. That is a universal fact.
Well said.
Very.
We talk about something kind of controversial. We talk about the idea of this being a computer simulation, that there are real players in the game that are just like any other video game. You sit down in front of a keyboard and you're actually controlling your avatar. And there are some players within the game that are manifested by the computer itself and don't actually exist outside of the game. But when you look at ancient doctrines or text or whatever you want to refer to them as, there's a distinction. Blavatsky made a distinction that those with the divine spark, those without. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth make a distinction, the children of light and the children of men. The Bible makes a distinction, the sons of men and men as well. The Gnostics had the Helics and the Psychics. I mean, there was always a distinction of two different consciousness, some with the divine spark, some without. We just put it in computer simulation and technical terms, a non-player character and organic consciousness. So you're absolutely right. In my opinion, at least from my vantage point, truth is relative, because to a non-player character, truth is not going to be the same as it is to an organic consciousness. So, the Mandela effect was what really got me to really understand this concept.
But the big truths are not relative. Things just are. They just are the way they are. And that we're all having this experience in this reality together. Only minor truths can be relative. But when it comes to the big stuff, there's nothing relative about it. We're all here in this reality having this experience together. That is a fact for all of us.
That is true. That we are all experiencing this.
Nothing relative about it. Now, you can have your own individual experience of this reality. That can be relative.
That's a good point.
But this is what the message I'm trying to get across to people is the because of what I share, I've had that many different people come at me from that many different angles. Right? It's really quite interesting. Yeah. And like when people would say, you believe that you had these extraterrestrial experiences. No, I don't. I don't believe I had them. I had them for real. What I find interesting is people's lack of capacity to deal with that reality. See, so they have to try and impose onto me that my journey to the moon was not real. Yeah, they want to impose that on me. It's right next door. It's like I used to go to UFO groups and stuff, and people would be there talking about, they went, the Pleiades and they went to Arcturus and all that, and that was all good. But the moment I started telling about my journey to the moon, and I had the experience there, it was like, nah, you're full of shit. Nah, didn't happen. Blah 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 blah. And you kind of go, what's up with these people, right? It's right next door, right?
We were.
It's as close as it gets.
We had the same experience when we went to Egypt and drank ayahuasca and all these temples and at the Great Pyramid at Giza. You didn't really do that. We live streamed it. It's right there.
It's on video.
It's on video.
Yeah, I don't know how much more proof you need. No, it's insane. No, that's the people are people, and that's the way it is.
So the reason I'm bringing this up, okay, is because these are the hurdles that we all have. These are the hurdles I've had within my own mind and my own consciousness. See, if someone came to me, if I didn't have the experiences I had, if I didn't have those, right, and someone comes along to me and starts telling me, they had this experience and that experience, I'd be hard-pressed to not think they were delusional or they were crazy or something like that. So I get when people are talking to me, I get where they're coming from, and this is where we exercise love, honor, and respect, empathy, compassion, all those things. Because you begin to realize the biggest problem we have on this planet is mind control. That's the biggest problem we have.
Well, let me jump in. Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, let me jump in for a moment because, the new age is full of shit. I'm sorry. That's the only way I can describe it. And there was a recent occurrence, and you probably don't want to speak on this, George, but if you want to, go right ahead. Corey Good was recently thrown out of Gaia TV, as was David Wilcock, and turns out they're completely full of horseshit. David Wilcock has this tendency of putting people in front of him, saying, "Oh, these person, they're the whistleblowers, or this, or that, et cetera," then throwing them under the bus. They did the same with Ben Fulford, now with Corey Good. I mean, I saw, it was complete and total bullshit right off the bat. The entire new age just seems to be completely and totally controlled, and it's all motivated by money and selling books, and maybe at a higher level to keep people trapped into these continual paradigms. So it doesn't surprise me at all when you say you go to a conference and you speak about your experience and it doesn't line up with the general zeitgeist of everything. They're going to look and say, "Oh, this guy's full of shit." And you're probably one of the only people there that are having a real experience.
There's a definite narrative that is being disseminated, and then that narrative has to do with the disclosure movement, and the disclosure movement is controlled opposition.
Yeah.
And the way this whole thing is being operated, I was confronted or approached by the person who is the mastermind behind it, and he offered me lots of wonderful things, and I said no, and tried to make my life a living hell ever since, because I said no to him. And I had the power to say no, whereas other people don't have the power to say no. And I came to realize that the whole whistleblower circuit is run by this person. I'm not going to name names. I can't. I promise not to. And, we have an issue in the whole alternative, or shall I say, free thinking or awake and aware community, where there is a continuous imposition to take control of and create drama after drama after drama. You see, I even though I'm still sharing with people what is actually going on in the way of the imposition and what we're up against, most of my time, energy, and effort is focused on solutions and supportive processes and community and helping people, right? That's why I went quiet for such a long time, because I want to help people. I'm not just out there just drama. So all my courses and everything, people walk away so they have the full capacity to be completely spiritual, sovereign, infinite creator beings. They have that capacity, and they have the know-how. And it's really all that's left now is individual timing is the last variable in the equation. But the rest of it, it's all there. And so nobody who comes to my courses ever needs to come to anything I offer ever again. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For me, it's not programs of dependency, right? So people, though, they come back and they do repeats because they just love hanging out in that energetic environment. It's community. It just feels really nice. So,
And this is what they're afraid of. They're afraid of people empowering themselves. There's always this is the ancient ploy that they've been running on us since the beginning of time. You got to go to the priests, you got to go to the churches, you got to go to the religions, you got to go to some kind of middleman or guru.
Yep.
And people like you and I, we empower people so they don't have to do that. I started a hashtag become your own shaman. Because people, where can I get ayahuasca? What ayahuasca retreat should I go to? Make it yourself. If you really want it that bad, make it yourself. We got a comment from Dakota earlier in the chat, and he says, I tried your recipe, and I'm a completely changed person. I was reborn on that night. It was the most powerful brew that I've ever had. And I said, that's perfect. You and the plants. There's no Chris Gio. There's no shaman. There's no nothing. You and the plants, one-on-one. That's it. That's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting when people will give people a hard time about plant medicine. I'm like, well, did you have a cup of tea?
Yep. Have you tried it?
Did you have a cup of chamomile?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the vegans, they're totally against ayahuasca. And I'm like, I thought you guys were all about veganism and about the plants and all this.
Yeah.
What's going on here? You're afraid of a tea here all of a sudden? But no, it's a shame. But again, back to what we were saying in the beginning of the show, awareness is key, in my opinion.
Right.
So
clarity is freedom.
Yeah.
Clarity is freedom. It really is. You get clear about what's going on. You get clear about yourself first, right? It's like, think of it as a symbiotic process. As you get clear about yourself, you get clear about reality. and you begin to really, really, really see what's going on in this place, because finally you're really, really seeing what's going on in you. And all the programs that you see outside are a reflection of all the programs that are going on inside you, because your outer world's a reflection of your inner world. And, most people just go and get caught up in the dramas, and they get going, and the remedy for them then becomes the programs of the gods, because they just cannot be the man in the mirror, which is what I loved Michael Jackson's song. It all starts with the man in the mirror. And it's true. It all begins there. And when or the woman in the mirror, or the person in the mirror, or the being in the mirror, but it begins with you actually looking at yourself with love, honor, and respect. And then your relationship with the plant realm becomes so much more balanced and harmonious and respectful. And with all realms, whether it's the mineral realm or the aquatic realms, it doesn't matter. It all just becomes so beautifully balanced.
One thing I want to get your take on, George, is I remember back in 2000, around the 2000s, early 2000s, there was a person named Nancy Leader, and she did Zeta Talk. I don't know if you're familiar with this. She used to go on Coast to Coast all the time and say that she got messages from the Greys, the Zetas, that were telling her about different Earth changes and things like that. And it got so bad to where she actually killed her puppy, because she was told supposedly by the Zetas that Nibiru was coming through, and she was urging people to put their animals down because they don't want their animals shouldn't have to live in a world like that. Once that happened, George kind of cut her off and never had her on again. Then that was replaced with the Palladians. And then we had the Billy Meyer guy who was like taking balls and gluing them to trash cans and throwing them up in the air and taking pictures of them like they're UFOs, trash can lids, I should say.
Yeah.
And I mean, the hoax was it was horrible. Like, he was taking photos of like 1970s dancers and saying those were the Palladians.
Yeah.
So then after that, we had the Bluebirds come in, and the Bluebirds fell apart. And then we had the Arcturians come in. And it's, I don't know. What do you make of this? Because you've had contact with otherworldly beings. From what I can tell, though, it seems to be the same story repeated over and over and over and over again and pushed upon people, almost as if they're hoping that people don't remember. Like, there's a few of us that do remember all of these stories being repeated over and over again, but there's a lot of people coming to this information that's new, and they hear this and they're like, oh, this sounds great, until it falls apart. Your thoughts?
Like every election cycle.
Yes.
And there's a fantastic song. Same game. There's a fantastic song by an Aussie band called Midnight Earl, and the song is called Short Memory. Right? I highly recommend listening to the lyrics of that song. It's a great song. Anywho, so we do have a narrative, and the issue is because the narrative is exopolitical. That's the origins of it, okay? I did a huge presentation in front of the Sydney UFO Research Group. You can see it on my website. It goes for about 3 hours, and I mapped out the whole exopolitical agenda. I mapped out with the reptilians and the Nordics. I mapped out how our military-industrial complex has been taken over. It's been infiltrated. And there's an internal war. And I really love how that movie Captain America came out, because and it was called Civil War, I think, because that was the struggle, the fight that's going on inside the military-industrial complex between the two factions. So the issue we have is that the narratives that are coming out and being disseminated in our culture, in our society, are mostly to do with the way empire has infiltrated our reality, has infiltrated our military complex, has infiltrated our social structures, our media. It's come at us from every single conceivable angle possible. So that's why it's an amazing effort that people like us and all of you listening here, for you to actually be awake and aware to the degree that you are in amongst this intense, insane level of imposition. It's psychotic. It really is. It's so full on that we as a humanity, as a human race, and as a planetary race, the objective is to assimilate us into empire. And when they talk about the Federation of Free Worlds, what they're talking about is like the equivalent of what we have here on Earth as the United Nations. So the way, and like if you look at the United Nations, you can obviously see that it actually, while it does some good, most of it is really designed. It's an office of operations that's designed to implement global agendas. So it doesn't really have the best interest of humanity at heart. It really just is an office for implementing agendas and orders from above. So we are being assimilated into a similar construct on a galactic level because they're trying to turn us into a warring race. The arm of empire they're trying to assimilate us into has more of that in its interest because of our genetics. It's really funny when you see experiments of trying to improve the human race by integrating our genetics with other genetics. And I just want to say a lot of the hybrid programs and the whole, this will be shocking to some people, the reactivating of more DNA strands, maybe I'll throw it as a hypothetical because I know a lot of people do that. Don't want to frighten too many people. Has to do with actually making them more adaptable to the hybrid programs of the extraterrestrials that are running those programs. But
well, okay. So here's
story.
what we've determined from our ayahuasca journeys.
Yeah.
The grays are interdimensional. They shapeshift. They can take many different forms, and they can manifest in this third dimensional space, which seems to be the center point of everything. So we think of everything going up and down, 12 dimension being higher, et cetera, but it's really more like a circle where we're right at the middle and everything wants to come in here and manipulate here because this is the central point and the central location. They do so through radiation. That's one of their main ways that they can come in here and manifest. Now you're starting to connect some dots for me. DNA activation as well, activating that other DNA that they can better access, especially through chakras, through pineal gland systems, et cetera, et cetera. We see the atomic bomb was when the grays really started to appear. Then all these nuclear detonations, Fukushima, so on and so forth. They're almost like terraforming the planet or plane or whatever you want to call this for some other type of species. And then let me throw this into 5G too. 5G, we're flooded with it.
That's what I was just about to talk about.
Go right ahead.
So what they're doing is by putting out, because if you look at the 5G technology, it makes no sense. Technologically, it is so dumb. It doesn't travel very far. It can't penetrate anything solid. You have to have a repeater things everywhere, like within 100 yards, so to speak. It's just ridiculous. It's so expensive. And it's kind of like, well, why? What is their agenda here? Why do they want to go through this ridiculously expensive exercise? And the only people that are going to benefit are the manufacturers of the technology, and all the labor is going to be required to install it everywhere. But it's about immersion, and it's about using a particular type of technology that interfaces with us in particular ways. And we are being, by making us blue light toxic. It's how many years I've been talking about the scalpel that is going to be used to sever us from Mother Earth and from the true nature of our own being. This is what's happening. This is part of the scalpel process where we are literally, you think about how many people sit in front of their screens. You wake up, you're staring at this screen. You're staring at this screen. People work on their computers all day. Then they go home. Then they sit in front of the television. We're under artificial suns, synthetic light, constantly. It's amazing how blue light toxic we all are, and that is poisoning our mitochondria, which is our source code. That is our true DNA code. But the world of science only focuses on the nuclear DNA, and that is the big misnomer that is going on there. So when you look at everything that is happening with the amount of EMFs, the blue light toxicity, there's particular frequencies of the light that we're being forced to use. And what is happening is the human being is being calibrated. We're being genetically modified is another way of putting it. That's a simple way of putting it. We're literally being genetically modified. So we can exist inside an artificial technology because these entities, they want to harvest as many humans as they can when the time comes. And any farmer will tell you have to have a paddock that is going to sustain and nourish the herd. So when I went to another reality, I could not sustain my existence in that reality for too long, because even if it was just in a craft, unless they had the technology to create a beautiful, harmonious reality similar to Earth's reality. I'm talking about vibrationally talking. So if I was to go upon another craft, then I'd be entering into the reality of that extraterrestrial species or interdimensional species. What happens is my atoms spun at a different rate. My molecules vibrate at a different rate. My body would start to feel pain. It took me sometimes a week to get over some of my abductions. The only ones that were okay, like I said, were the ones who were able to create an interface reality where they could exist and where I could exist, and it wasn't too bad. But if you go to somewhere like Mars, for example, that planet vibrates differently to Earth. Unless you get calibrated with nanites and get totally assimilated to the Earth reality, it takes about a 10 to 11 month process for the people that have gone there to work there. You can't exist there. Your molecules vibrate differently, and what happens is your internal organs start to break down. Your whole infrastructure, the whole integrity of your physiology starts to break down because you're now vibrating differently to what your actual physiology was made to vibrate at. So it's not so simple to be able to take people from one planetary reality to another. You actually have to simulate their home world in order to be able to take them off their home world. This is the part about space travel that is only just coming into the conscious awareness of the people inside the secret space program. This is what you have to be able to do. So it's about fields of reality, fields of resonance. So we are being altered, our conscious awareness. How long do people spend on the internet? So where does your awareness live? Where does your awareness reside? Your awareness is spending most of the time inside computers, inside the net, or the world of technical intelligence. In that reality, even if you're sitting there watching a movie, how many people are spending their time out in nature? So it is like the realization that your awareness, your conscious awareness, is already being assimilated into that space of reality. And now what they're doing is, with all the RMFs, EMFs, genetically modified foods, 5G, all of this stuff, we are now being physically modified to be able to exist in an EMF-rich, radio frequency-rich, toxic light-rich environment and reality.
You're absolutely right, George. And I would go so far as to say that, some people can't handle it, but some can handle it and adapt to it. We find our DNA structure changing, and this is what they're hoping for, that a lot of us will adapt to it. But, it reminds me so much of the DMT experience and the ayahuasca experience, because I've gone really, really, really deep into these realms, and I'm vibrating at a different frequency as I'm doing so, but I can't sustain it. I can only be in the realm for so long. At the Great Pyramid, that was when I pushed myself to the furthest limit. My body started convulsing. My tether was breaking. I was having physical symptoms in my body. My body was shutting down and was saying no more. when I came back, I went through this long depression and reassimilation back into this reality, which I did not expect whatsoever. But going so far, vibrating so different, and coming back, it was pretty brutal. Which you would think drinking ayahuasca in the sarcophagus of the Great Pyramid would be this big love and light kind of experience. It was the complete and total opposite. But you're absolutely right, George. The paths are so similar. But they're doing the opposite and trying to come in here like that, which they're not supposed to because they're not creator beings. I think the Greys are manifestations of this matrix. They're the minions of the matrix, and it's ultimately trying to assimilate us further and further, as you said.
They are, and they're getting us to create it. They're getting us to come up with the technology. They're getting us to manufacture it and to build it and to implement it, and they get so-called humans, which really, if they were to stop and look at their actions, they realize they've lost their humanity. So they're just what you call NPCs. They're the ones that are making the decisions in governments and things like that. If you look at the data on light toxicity, blue light toxicity, it is the nastiest thing ever. Like, you take smoke, carcinogenic cigarettes, not natural tobacco, but you take the smoking, the cigarette industry, right, tobacco industry in the Western world. You take asbestos, DDT, anything you can think of in the past that has created dis-ease and illness. You put them all together and combined, they are dwarfed. They are dwarfed by the issues of blue light. It is that bad. And people have absolutely no idea how poisonous and toxic it is and the damage it does to our mitochondria. I have a really difficult time. I just went through an experiment myself where I just immersed myself in blue light toxicity, and I stopped going out into the sun because I wanted to see what would happen, and it didn't take me long, and I got really sick really quick. So morning sunlight is the best medicine you can get.
It's funny you say that, because part of the reintegration cycle that I've been going through has been no computer. Outside of the computer, people have been pissed off because I haven't been helping them and doing, things that I should be doing on the computer, but it's just simply I can't sit in front of these screens anymore. I've got to get out there in the sunlight. I've got to work on my physical body, et cetera, and really rebuild. But it's just part of 2019 for me is the whole rebuilding. But it was like instinctively get away from all these devices, get away from the computer. And even still, though, I find myself when I'm driving and sitting in traffic, I'm looking at Facebook. And I really should stop doing that. I mean, even that one little device that we carry around in our pockets every single day still pulls us into that frequency.
Well, it's mind entrainment. It's Pavlov's dog, even it goes ding, and then you're looking at your phone, aren't you? Who's that?
Mine went off the other day. We were at some restaurant or something like that. I turned it on, and it was ding, 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 like I win the freaking jackpot.
Ding,
and
ding.
The guy looks at me and he's like, wow, what the hell's going on?
You're popular.
I haven't turned it on in like 3 days. So, it's just all piling up on me.
And look, having said all these things that we've said again, because you can get caught up in the drama and it's all dark and, it's all going to shit and we're doomed and all that stuff. I really just want to say that we're creator beings, and from beyond the drama, we created this. So we can uncreate it.
Hey, that sounds
simple.
like a good name for a show. Beyond the Drama. I love that.
Beyond the Drama.
Beyond the Drama. There you go.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I like that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rest of the world is doomed, but people that listen to Beyond the Veil, they're not doomed. So,
right.
That's the key right there. You got to tune into Beyond the Veil and buy my book for $19.99.
Watch Beyond the Veil if you want to live.
What I want to say is that no matter how much darkness infects us, no matter how bad it seems, it really is as simple as, that way we write fear and you write it vertically and you go false evidence appearing real. It really is that. And you need to know that no matter how down you are, how badly infected you are with darkness and evil and all that stuff, that each of us has the capacity to come back from that. We all have it. And all you need to do is have the self-realization. And when we start to work together as a community, then amazing things can happen. Amazing things. We're seeing it around here, what people in community are doing. And we all want the same things. And, you know, people have different ideas about things, and no one has to go where I'm going. If people want to do chakras, kundalini, pineal gland, by all means do it. As long as we treat each other fairly and with love, honor, and respect, that's what really counts. No, like I said, no one has to go where I'm going. I just really in full love, honor, and respect of everyone's journey. It's just part of my fundamental purpose to bring this information and share it once again, because it's just not, you know, not hearing about it and it needs to be heard. So now people can make an informed decision.
Well said.
But that's where I'm at with all of this. But I love everybody equally.
No, I agree with you. You know, the thing that the MPC revelation did for me is it allowed me to, or helped me to navigate through the matrix with a little more ease. So I encounter somebody that's stuck in that paradigm. You know, they're running the Holy Scripture, for example. It's a script. It's right there. I mean, they don't even try to hide it. It's a Holy Scripture. It's a script that you're running. And I'm just like, okay, that's where you are, and that's perfectly fine. Some people with the chakras and the pineal, they have to go through all that so they can realize it's you know, a system of control. I did too.
So did
I think everybody did. And then you come to a point where you're like, all right, these got to go. But they have to go through it. And so it's okay. So everybody's on their own path and we can interact with one another much better.
That video of me in 2004, an ambassador for the Galactic Federation of Light.
Is that the one where you're turning into a reptilian?
No, that was when I was having a private session with someone who I lived in the Southern Flinders Ranges, a really remote part, 200 kilometres north of Adelaide. And I was speaking to a lady in the UK, and it was much earlier days of the internet, and the pixels were quite large.
No, I know. It's happened to me before too.
Someone painstakingly went to the process of pixels and replacing them. And a whole bunch of video experts said they just replaced the pixels. What's everyone going on about? And a friend of mine just 3 months ago, whenever it was walking down the street in Byron Bay and got to talking with a guy, and he mentioned my name. He goes, "Oh, don't you know that guy's a reptilian?"
You know what they do to me, George? They'll take, like, you know, I talk with my hands a lot because I'm Greek and Italian, and, you know, I'm like, hey. So they'll take a freeze frame like that and go, look, that's a white power salute. Or look, he's doing an Illuminati, this and that. And I'm like, yeah, it's a screenshot from one of the videos. But we did have the other day where I turned into a reptilian because my internet went down and it got really, really low bandwidth. I'm like, oh my God, these people just need to figure out how technology works and also become symbol literate and understand the symbols that they're seeing before they start talking about who's throwing what symbols up. Anyways, that's the way it goes, though. It is the internet. And like Terrence McKenna said, you know, with the internet, we're going to see the best of the best. We're also going to see the worst of the worst.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. On that note, George, you have been more than gracious with your time, and I want to thank you for all of the information, the wonderful, wonderful conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's always great.
It's always great to just kind of mix the energy and get in each other's energy field and all of this and come up with new gnosis and understanding, because you always make me think about the next steps, and you always help to open more doors, and you shine lights on areas that I didn't think needed to be shined. So I appreciate that.
Oh, you're most welcome. That's a lovely thing to say. Thank you. And I always have a warm experience every time I come on with you guys. I just, it's genuine love. So thank you very much. I appreciate you very much.
It's the Greek. That's what it is. Give us your websites one more time, please.
Okay. My website at the moment is weareinfinite.love. It's weareinfinite.love. And, we've got events coming up in Shasta in October and Sedona. And I'm doing one in Shasta, 2 in October. I was to be speaking to you guys. I was going to come to Seattle and speak at the Architects of the New Paradigm Conference. They had me quite heavily, my schedule there was really quite full on. I was going to be, you know, really quite prominent there, which is really nice. I really appreciate that. So it's been postponed till about March, and we're still looking at coming then and participating in that. But if you are interested in coming anywhere near Shasta, because I know you guys are sort of up that way, further up. But wow, it'd be great to see you.
You know, we're about 20 hours away from Shasta. No, maybe about 15, something like that. It's quite a way. Seattle is only about 3.5 hours, though. If you are in Seattle, George, and you don't let us know that you're in Seattle, I'm going to fly to Australia and have some words with you. You have to let us know if you're in Seattle.
Yes.
We may take a drive down to Shasta. People in LA have been asking us to come out there, and I love California. It's the best place. And so, I mean, we could see a whole bunch of people while we're down there, and then go have some tacos.
Hey, if you want to do a live event together, let's entertain that or something. I'm open to ideas.
That would be fantastic.
My schedule, you know, we were planning on having an extra week there because of the other conference. If that's not in Seattle now, if you want me to come along and we'll do our own thing in that area, then I'm happy to do that as well.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that off air.
Because
possibilities.
Yeah, we have a great presentation in mind already, and we're we've been kicking around about how to put it together and all of that. So that would be phenomenal. So give us your websites one more time, please.
All right, we are infinite.love.
Awesome.
Because we are, all of us.
Love your brother, and give a hug and kiss to the little lady for us, please.
Allison.
Thank you.
Yes.
It'd be my pleasure. She's over your neck of the woods.
Yeah, she's actually here in the States right now, visiting family.
OC.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. For her mum's 80th birthday. Big happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Mom.
She's a darling. She wanted to spend it in Disneyland. Can you believe that? Usually 12-year-old kids want to go to Disneyland for the birthday.
Hey, I would
she's
too.
80 and she's like, I want to go to Disneyland for my birthday. There you go.
We got married at Mount Shasta on December 21st, 2012.
Yep.
And we drank ayahuasca and did all that. And then my friend said, hey, come on down to LA and visit. And so we went down to LA, then we just got kind of caught in the LA thing. And we went to Hollywood, and we went to Disneyland, and then we were going back, and we were going to go check out Area 51. And on the way to Area 51 is Las Vegas. And
we got caught up in Vegas.
So we had both the balanced dynamic of the spiritual and then the complete polar opposite.
Well, that's how it works, though.
But I know how it goes, though. Disneyland is awesome. Yeah. So happy birthday to her for sure. Thank you, brother. We'll let you go.
All right.
That's
a lot.
Love you.
Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, that was freaking epic.
That was
I love
epic.
George. I think the last hour was the best.
Yeah, same here.
Especially getting into the 5G, getting into the grays, getting into all of that. So on that note, let's take a quick break and we'll wrap it up right on the other side. I have to take a quick break. I have been waiting to take a quick break for the last hour, but I didn't want to
you didn't want to interrupt the flow because it was that good.
Yeah. We'll be right back.